the Swiss and German show.
Hello and good evening from Germany. This is Jonathan Quell-Higgins. I'm happy to see you all in the comments, and I hope that some of you are chiming in. It has been a while. First of all, I have to apologize for last week's disaster. We were planning a show, but then Tanzil couldn't make it, and I hate to talk to myself, so I had to postpone the show. And the topic is not forgotten. We will do that one day. But today, because of the recent events and breaking news, we changed the topic, and we are talking about Worldtimers today. So I will welcome my two panelists for the moment, and hopefully there will be more there will be more to come. So the first guest is my friend Patek Philippe, or Tanzil. Hello, good evening.
Good afternoon from Canada. How's everyone doing today?
Shameless flexing here happening already.
Well, I heard we're talking Worldtimers, so I figured we needed to show at least one Worldtimer, not a render of a Worldtimer, that you have in your avatar there, Higgy baby. But
that is true. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. But I hope that you change the strap. But we have a second panel guest, which I would like to welcome, and this is my friend Jamie Opulence, or Gonzo Jamie. One second, let's put him on the show. Well, I'm fighting with the layout. Okay, here he is. Good evening, Jamie.
Hello and good evening from Spain. It is Gonzo Jamie. How do you do?
Very good. How are you?
Fantastic. Really good, thank you.
I see you have your Worldtimers prepared, everything stacked.
Yeah, kind of, but I don't like the layout that you've kind of got going. So it's okay. It's okay. I'll adjust.
Let me try this. Is that better now?
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm a little bit rusty because I haven't been live streaming so long. So
are you supposed to have your camera on? Because Jamie and I brought our Worldtimers. Doesn't seem like you brought a Worldtimer to the show.
Yeah, very good idea. I have my Worldtimer on the wrist, but if you want me now to go on my iPad, that will be total disaster, because then you can.
All right, why don't we do this? So you guys have seen my Worldtimer probably on every show. So one last look at my Worldtimer. I'll go on the laptop there.
One second,
baby.
We will make full screen just for the memory. So this is the Patek Philippe 5230G, like white gold, correct?
White gold, baby. White gold buckle. White gold case.
And golden heart.
Golden heart.
Can you show us the movement?
Yeah, one sec. Hold on.
Okay, so Jamie, I see. Now I'm changing the layout again. I see that you prepared both of them. So you're the superstar here, and it was very important to me that you will join the show because you're the only guy that I know who owns two, or technically it belongs to your wife, correct?
Yeah, technically.
So here we have the beautiful 240 movement with the micro rotor, which is famous to be the rooted rotor, and you can see the left watch on Jamie's picture is a little bit smaller. So you see that ring on the case back is a little bit thinner. And on the other one, which is a little bit bigger, they have to fill out that space with a little bit more gold. So that's how it goes. And Patek Philippe,
but I think the actual movement is exactly the same size.
Exactly,
It's just so this is 37 millimeters and this is 38.5, and obviously they've just filled it, like you said, with gold.
Yeah, and Patek Philippe, I think his watch, well, it's the same reference, so it's the same size. So we have the same situation here. I just learned last week that this particular movement has been developed by the former technical director of Universal Genève. And when Patek Philippe introduced that micro-rotor movement, they've been immediately sued by Universal, and that delayed the release of the movement for a couple of years.
Look, Higgy baby, you can't sue the gods, man. You can't sue the gods.
You can.
That's a simple, that's a simple deflection off of Patek's, off the chest, like just a quick deflection.
You are the guy who always brings up the JLC big date in the datograph. So,
well, look, we're not talking. We're not the ones walking around saying, "Oh, this in-house movement kicked Patek's ass." Well, look, you're claiming in-house movement. I mean, JLC made the date.
At least it's an in-house movement. It's not an in-house date. Yes, so that is correct.
So all right, I'm gonna switch back to the laptop. Okay.
Yeah, okay. But I had a question for you. So, but anyhow, so I will ask the question.
No, go ahead. No, hey, I got no. It's fine. I can stay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a. I'm not sure when our friendship or when our discussions started. Were they starting after I showed my Worldtimer, or was that with that infamous line that Lange is a Phoenix brand? Do you remember that?
I would say it's probably the Lange is a Phoenix brand on the Dungeon. So that was the first, because I didn't hear about your Worldtimer until a few weeks later. So
okay,
I had
no it already, or was that the presentation?
No, you had it. You had already received it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so so please go to your laptop, and maybe if Jamie allows me, I will quote some comments here in the chat.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So we have Patek Philippe. Sydney is basically Brisbane right now. I'm not sure about the time zones. Do you know that, Jamie?
Well, things change, don't they? So I don't have Brisbane on mine. Let's get it closer.
Yeah, me neither. But I know that Sydney changed to daylight saving time over the weekend. So Sydney is now off, and we will discuss that a little bit later, because that was the. So Tanzil was bitching around. I was telling him for over a year that he must get a Worldtimer, and he said, I don't want a watch that is half of the year incorrect. I like precision, I like accuracy, and when the daylight saving time changes, then those are not accurate. And I told him, it is not about the precise time in the other time zone. It is, you get an idea if it's night, if it's day, if people are sleeping, if people had their lunch. That is all about. It's not about the exact hour. What do you think?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
But in practical terms, so when I'm at work, let's say it's 8 in the morning. Well, I don't go that early to work, but let's say it's 11. I can very quickly glance and say, okay, my client in Dubai. Well, yeah, it's only a few hours difference, but particularly when I'm looking at, say, the Asian markets, it's a rough idea that it's okay for me to make the phone call.
Exactly, you're getting an idea if you kick him out of bed or not.
Yeah, so Tan was saying earlier that you've been ringing him at 5 a.m.
Yeah, I was, but I was not wearing my Worldtimer, to my defense. Yeah, and
okay.
Canada is not on the city ring, so I have no idea if Tan is on Los Angeles time, if he's on New York City time, or if he's on Mexico or Denver time.
Yeah. I said that perhaps you hadn't taken the watch for a walk and wound it up.
Of course I did, and I don't need a walk. It just needs 5 shakes, and then we're good to go.
Shake it, shake it, shake it.
Shake it, shake it. Yes, yes. Be active. Be active. Don't use the crown. But I see that you prepared already your ammunition, and I'm looking forward for you bitching around with the winding crown for the entire evening, because that is basically what.
Hey! Are you gonna wind it live on stream?
Actually, I will set it just to prove you wrong. That is so difficult to set.
I want you to wind it.
I'm gonna shake it for you live on air.
No. Wind it. You know, I want you to take it
and shake it
and wind it.
You
Not
can
set the time. Wind it.
We will have a special guest a little bit later this evening, and you can discuss the design flaws directly with him. So that is my suggestion. Okay, so
I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be rude.
Yeah,
but
you're rude always to me, so I'm not the guy who is responsible for that.
it's
design.
probably best that you kick me.
Well, yeah, good idea. So we have Patek Philippe back in the
Gentlemen, we got some Pateks.
Yeah.
But no Higgy Worldtimer. No Higgy Worldtimer.
Yeah. So do you want to take over the show and let me show my Worldtimer?
Yeah, just give me a second here. While you do that, I will share.
So we have Russ here in the comments, and Russ hopefully will join us later, and we have Muhammad Ali here in the panel. Hello.
Hey, Muhammad Ali.
Hi Tan. Hi Jamie. Hi Jonathan.
Hey,
how
bro.
you guys doing? I'm doing well. I don't have a Worldtimer, so I don't know if I'm this is
okay.
The official,
you have to go. You have to go.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to play the Dodger card. I recall, when Dodger was with you guys in Berlin, and he was comparing, I think, Jamie's Worldtimer against your Worldtimer, Jonathan, and he had his GMT. Rolex GMT, and he said that was the best one. So I'm going to play the same role, I think, today in this show.
Yeah, I'm hoping that you have a good point, because we all remember that battle of the Worldtimers, and Dodger declared victory on his Pepsi, and I know that you're the proud and happy owner of a Pepsi, so I can't argue with you about that. So
that's okay, don't worry. So it's a pleasure to join you guys.
I hope that even that arrogant prick Jamie Opulence can agree that the GMT master is the best.
Firstly, my name is Gonzo Jamie. I'm not Jamie Opulence.
Oh,
toned it down. I've roughened up. I'm Gonzo, not opulent.
Okay. Sorry, Gonzo. Okay, so I will leave the panel for a second. I will brag around with my Worldtimer, and Patek Philippe will take over the stream.
You got it. All right, Mohammed and Jamie.
Okay,
I'm going to show you guys a couple of special edition Worldtimes from the 5130. This is the one that Archie got, and really, really cool, because they did a lot of special editions for the 5130. So this one is the Taipei edition. It's from 2008. They don't actually know the number of pieces actually created for the Taipei edition. So pretty cool piece. This is one of my favorites, the Dubai edition. So it's obviously got a black dial with Dubai in the red, 50 pieces in platinum. So really, really nice. I'd say this is probably my favorite amongst the limited edition 5130 Worldtimes. Then we're getting into the Mecca edition. This is probably produced in it's 150 pieces, so it's produced in a lot more quantity than the previous ones, but very, very popular. I know that Bear had mentioned that this is his favorite dial, the beautiful green dial on the Mecca edition in platinum. One for me that I've actually pinged a couple of people on today in a couple Canadian groups is the Vancouver dial. So this one actually has. That's not letting me zoom in here, but see if I can do it through this method here. Yeah, so if you see here in on the dial, you can see that it has Vancouver for the Pacific time zone and Calgary for the Mountain time zone. This is probably one of the only modern Patek Philippe's that I've seen that has at least even one Canadian city on, let alone 2 Canadian cities, because usually speaking, those time zones are taken over by Los Angeles and Denver. You know, which I don't really understand, Jamie, because if you think of like the North American, you know, continent, you know, predominantly, you know, from a land mass is Canada, the United States, and Mexico. On the North American section of the dial in the time zones, you have a couple of American cities and then one Mexican city. So for me, you know, either replacing Denver, I say you can't really remove Los Angeles, but maybe a Denver for a Calgary would have been, you know, a little bit cool. But for me, like this is cool because as a Canadian, you know, it speaks to me, right?
Yeah, you didn't even get I mean, as close as well. You've got Anchorage, which is right up there, isn't it? It's Alaska, right? Is that right? Anchorage.
That's right. Yeah, Anchorage is in Alaska. Yep.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Are you going to get that tan, or were you just making some inquiries?
I made some inquiries. I said, does anybody know anybody with one of these watches? Because I'm like, look, there's 40 pieces, right? 20 in rose gold, 20 in white gold. You know, I'd love to have a Canadian dial, you know, 5130. That'd be awesome, right? So, yeah, I put a couple of inquiries out to some big time collectors. So we'll see what comes out. Maybe there's somebody with it, and there may not be a huge market, so I might score out a pretty decent deal.
Yeah. I think you should be able to find, you know, 20 collectors in Canada and make a deal.
This is the most interesting one, Jonathan. I don't know if you've ever seen this one. This is the 5130 special edition or limited edition Munich dial. Obviously, probably doesn't mean too much to you because you don't live in Munich, but the guillochage is a bit different in the center, and obviously Munich. And I believe this is a blue. Yeah, it looks like a blue. So this is the one guillochage that if you look at all these special editions, you know, they're all kind of similar in the guillochage, but you know, the Munich edition was a little bit different. So pretty cool. 25 pieces in rose gold, 25 pieces in white gold.
The Munich one, they released, so you know they just did the Tokyo event. They did it in Munich in that year, and that's when they released this one for the, you know, the I forget what they call it, the watch fair or whatever it is.
Grand exhibition,
yeah, exactly. They released this for the Grand Exhibition in Munich.
Now, Higgins, did you go to this Grand Exhibition in Munich, living in Germany there?
No, I've not been a Patek Philippe fan, so.
Jeez. Now we get to air all your dirty laundry because Jamie Hopkins leaked a bit of it.
When was that exhibition in Munich? Which year?
I don't know.
2014. It's on the. Is it on the screen?
Okay, so because I was at that time I was a one watch guy, so I was wearing my Rolex GMT and nothing else.
Yeah, mate, this is so cool, Tan. Can you just carry on? Because I know Higgy's trying to show some crap.
No, hey, I was pretty much
this is really exciting.
Yeah, this was pretty much it for the. We can go back to it. Higgins, why don't you put yourself full screen? Well, let's look at your watch.
Oh,
and we can come back to it.
I thought you can do that. Okay.
Oh no, I don't have keys.
Okay. So here, guys, this is the best Worldtimer out there, because Jamie, how does your city ring sparkle? Can you tell me that?
I love your city ring. I think it's fantastic.
It's amazing. And I thought the other night when Tan showed me his watch, he had New York as his base time, while I have Hamburg, and I guess you have Paris, correct, Jamie?
Yeah, I'm very happy with Paris. Central European time.
But wouldn't it be nicer to have Madrid or...
No,
Malaga?
zero interest.
Okay. So, but I'm very happy to have Hamburg here, probably the only Worldtimer that has that. And yeah, this watch is platinum. At the moment, if you want platinum, you only get you can't get that from Patek Philippe at the moment at all.
The only thing is the hour ring. That I don't like that. It's hard to distinguish between night and day.
That is true. It's a design choice, but it's true. It's a little bit difficult. But if you can read numbers, that shouldn't be a real issue.
Yeah, I suppose you can't copy everything, so I get it.
Well, I think Ben was very keen not to copy too much and to make his own thing. But you see that the outline here, how fine and detailed that is. I think that is one of the key elements of the Worldtimer that Benjamin Chi created. and I totally love it. How detailed, how elaborate that is. Look at those little islands here.
So
Japan
just
is there.
just before you get into the islands, we wanted to play a little game with you there, Mr. Higgins. Jamie and I were talking about this before the show, and we wanted to kind of spring it on you. So we're going to play the game. So you're not allowed to answer this question, but the rest of the panel is. So that's the rest of us. So what does your cloisonné dial layout say about you? Okay. So Jamie, if you look at this dial layout that's customized by Mr. Higgins, what
Yeah.
does it say about him?
For me, it's dull. DULL. It's not vibrant. There's no vibrancy. It's very dull.
Okay, so Jamie says it's dull. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper than that. So as you can see on his dial, North America is nowhere to be seen. So anybody who's ever argued with Higgins on the Dungeon or on Archie's show, like
Everybody argued about
everybody, but most of us are North Americans, right? He's a bit nicer to the Europeans. You can see why he argues with you. North America, you don't even exist in his world here. This is what the dial says. Now, also, I can see that Asia is pretty central to the dial, which is quite special. So I would say that Mr. Higgins has some affinity for both Europe as well as Asia. So that's what I'm getting. Eurasian vibes as well as just
Well, we have Africa here.
A disdain for North America and Africa, of course.
We have entire Africa and entire Australia there, so you could say the same about Africa and Australia. But point taken. But Tan, you know better than everybody else that the way the map represents has only one reason, and the reason was I told Ben I want 3 cities on this particular map, and I want to have it as detailed as possible, and that will be Hamburg, it will be Hong Kong, and it will be Bora Bora. And the more you zoom out, the more detail you lose on all those little outlines, which are so difficult to make. And that shows true craftsmanship on cloisonné dials.
Now, look, your viewers are trying to see, like, did their country make it onto your dial? Now, Gary's saying Ireland just scraped in. So, Gary, you're good in Higgins's world. So, I can see a lot of definition in the Northern Territory of Australia as well. It seems like Darwin was a pretty central piece as well on this dial. So,
oh, totally. I mean, I thought about having a dot set there.
There you go, guys. You heard it here first. North America, nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, but again, it is not a deliberate choice to leave America out. It is just the way I outlined the design. And my cities of preference are featured in that dial, and everything else had to be zoomed out. And you can see how extreme that is. Hamburg on one side of the dial and Bora Bora on the other side of the dial.
Jamie, if you could humor us, if you could pull up your dial, Higgins. Let's kind of contrast here. For those that don't know, cloisonné dials, these layouts are extremely important. Customers will special order the layout that they want, right? So you'll see a difference here. Now in Jamie's, Jamie has a bit of a different layout, guys. So Higgins, let's you and I play the game. What does your cloisonné dial layout say about you? What does this say about Jamie Opulence to you there, Mr. Higgins?
So Jamie is all over the place, I would say, and he can't really pick and choose where he's coming from. But in all seriousness, I totally love how colorful Jamie's dial is. But let's be honest, if Ben could have chosen to make the color similar to the Patek Philippe, but that would be then a copy of the Patek Philippe, and nobody really wants that. So I really like the colors. I don't like the outlines because they are not detailed. Those are done just like by a 5-year-old, while mine is a little bit more elaborate. But I like the colors on Jamie's style.
Okay.
And I totally give him that.
Can you stop being so vicious? Can I give my commentary now, please?
Yes, please.
Look, Jamie's dial to me would be the exact dial layout that I would purchase. Now, the 5231, Jamie, was Rare Handicrafts piece. I believe it was an application piece. You couldn't just walk in and be like, I want to buy one of these, for example, from the authorized dealer. So, obviously, there's customization which goes into the dial layout that you wanted to pick. And for me, given what this, dial layout looks like, you got North America, South America, you've got Western Europe, and most of Europe, I'd say you got, on the map, you got Africa, you've got the Middle East, right? These are countries and areas of the world that I travel to the most. So for me, this would make the most sense because it would give me the most memories of the places that I go to the most often, right? So for me, perfect dial layout. I love kind of just the color changes. You can see the deserts in Africa, as well as in the Western United States, really means something to me, as well as if you kind of look at Egypt, you can kind of see maybe a little bit if there's detail on the Nile and whatnot. So just really, really cool layout, Jamie. This is like a 10 out of 10. I don't know why Higgins is being so vicious. Higgins, look, I'm going to ask the question to you guys now. What does my cloisonné dial say about me? You can take the one shot at me with the one gut punch right now, boys.
You don't have a cloisonné dial.
Too poor for a cloisonné dial.
Yeah.
That's what it says about me. All right.
So Gary, like always, made a very vicious comment. I bet Higgins' house only has gray paint, which is a good point. But believe me, when the sun is hitting, it's more colorful. And keep in mind, and I will do that at 1 second. Let me make it full screen again. It was very important to me that the coastlines are brighter and the oceans are really dark. So we try to get as much color as possible. For example, the Himalaya is also highlighted a little bit in darker color, and Lake Baikal is now hidden behind the minute hand, unfortunately. But we try to do the best without copying Patek Philippe. Ben offered me to have the same color code like Patek Philippe, and I didn't want that.
We have another world traveler on the panel here, Mr. Higgins. We've got Mr. Muhammad Ali, and I was going to get his take on his favorite dial layout, Muhammad Ali, because you travel. Obviously, folks know that you live in the UK, but you travel all over the world. What kind of a layout would you get, if you were to look at a world time?
Yeah, that's a great. I'd probably go more with the geographical features that Jamie has. I think that's become more part of the world that I've been. I mean, I have been to Australia, I have been to Asia, but not as much as Europe and North America and Middle East. Jamie's dial is very bright. It's very much like him, with his golden hair. It's very much his personality. But I think Jonathan's dial is actually also quite good as well, because it looks more like looking at Earth, but from outer space. So you get the kind of and also more of a nighttime vision. So that kind of implies that Jonathan's more of a night owl. So he likes to go out and party. So I think that's kind of his character on the dial. But both are beautiful, and both are beautiful. And there's no right or wrong answer. I know we're kind of kidding around here. It's whatever works for you. Whatever works for you is the dial that you should get.
Mm-hmm. And the reason I asked that question, Muhammad Ali, was when I guess I'm the new guy on the block when it comes to world times. Jamie's had it for a long time, and obviously so is Mr. Higgins. So for me, when I got this watch, I was very torn with buying a world time. Jonathan and I have spoken over months about world times, and I'm a calendar guy. As you can see, I bought a perpetual calendar, and that was my grail. And I like functional complications. And in the world time, obviously, to me was always a bit of a quagmire in the sense that it wasn't functional. And I couldn't kind of wrap my head around the fact that, why might I spend so much money on something that's not functional? So Higgins used to say to me, well, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. And I never really got that sense or that the idea of what he was talking about until I actually put one on the wrist. And I realized that, like, when you look at a world time, it's a lot more than just looking for the time, right? Or looking for a functional, time zone, like, hey, I'm at work and what's the time in London, for example. It can be used for that purpose, but you get multiple purposes of why you look at this watch, you enjoy this watch, and how to enjoy this watch. Jamie, look, like my first experience, I'll say honestly, was, obviously I was looking at kind of the functionality of it. When I got past that, I really kind of the romanticism of the cities, like you can see a day night, like what, is it the daytime in Auckland, or is it nighttime in Cairo, and what would the people be doing in those cities at this time? Like it really, I would say, expands your imagination, and it's a kind of experience you don't get from any other watch, in my opinion, not even a GMT, for example. So that's why I asked you, Muhammad Ali, because there's a lot of emotion, I think, that's involved in owning these kind of pieces and selecting certain cities, as for example, Higgins has done. So sorry for taking over there, Higgins. I just wanted to kind of say a bit of why I purchased the watch myself.
And thanks for that as well, because I haven't got to that stage of my collection where I have, and I've got a Worldtimer. Again, I'm thinking maybe in the next year or two. I've been really impressed with, what Jonathan has, what Jamie has, what you have, even what Archie has. And I can feel myself in the next year or two maybe making that kind of leap, consolidating some watches and maybe moving into a Worldtimer. So I find this very interesting. And just one question, I know you kind of covered this briefly, Tan, already. In terms of using the Worldtimer to kind of look at time in different countries, is it really useful, or is a GMT better for that? Or is it more the overall package of being kind of a global person that the Worldtimer?
That's a great question. That's a question I asked myself, actually. And the answer is that if you need complete accuracy, a GMT is going to be better because you're going to be setting the direct time zone. So oftentimes with world times, the quagmire of world times, and this is an interesting fact, and I think everybody needs to kind of understand this, is time zones change all the time. One year, Brisbane and Sydney are the same. 10 years later, they may be different. 1 year, one city adheres to daylight savings time, another year they don't, right? So they'll never be 100% accurate. But this is kind of where Jonathan was saying, well, you're missing the point, right? Like, do you really need to know, like, it's, you're an hour off, if it's in Auckland, for example, right? It's in the morning. Now, just an FYI for the group, Jonathan owns a Worldtimer and still called me at 5 a.m. this morning. So he clearly didn't, I don't know if he has a day-night indicator on his Worldtimer, but he had no idea it was 5 a.m. for me. But that's kind of the point, Muhammad Ali, is the Worldtimer is accurate. What I've checked on mine for the majority of the time zones that, like, I have either friends in or I do business in. So it's good for me. But there's a few of them that are a little off right now. Like Sydney's off by an hour, Auckland's off by an hour. So when I look at my watch, I know that Sydney's in Brisbane's time. So I know Archie's time, for example, is the same as Sydney's. So if you need complete accuracy, go for the GMT. If you want more of a romantic experience of looking at different cities and getting a good sense of it, you're probably going to use the World Time.
Yeah, I use mine. I'm not really that bothered about precision. What time is it precisely in Sydney? I just listen. I said to you earlier, Tan, in the chat. I have no better feeling, right, when you're on the aeroplane and the captain turns on the seatbelt light and it's time for landing. And let's say I'm coming in to land let's go Sydney. So what do I do? I press the pusher. You see the pusher here? Press it.
Can you make him full screen, Jonathan, please?
Push it, Jamie. 1 second.
Yeah, I push the pusher and I bring Sydney round to the 12 o'clock. Bang. And if I'm off an hour, I'll adjust the time.
Yeah, but I think then your home time won't be precise. Is that correct? If you adjust it for 1 hour?
Well, what is the time in Sydney right now?
Let me check.
All these guys with Worldtimers have no idea, right?
Yeah. So I think
the time in Sydney is 6 a.m. It's like 6:10 a.m. something like that.
Okay, let's go.
Is that correct, John? Yeah. Or am I incorrect?
I haven't checked. So I totally trust you.
6
on mine it's 5:15.
Yeah, because that's why I said so. Brisbane and Sydney are a different time zone now. So Sydney on your world time will be actually Archie's time in Brisbane. The real Sydney is an hour, so it's in the Noumea time zone.
Yeah, but it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. I can live. I've never looked at it like that, Tan. Honestly speaking, but yeah, I can live with that.
Look,
for me, it's more about.
Jamie, I get it.
Travel.
I get it. You and me are on the same page. However, Mr. Higgins somehow still called me at 5 a.m. Like he couldn't tell that it was 5 a.m. in North America on his world time. Higgins, do you not have a day-night indicator on your world time?
I have, but I'm not. I've not been wearing it in the morning.
Okay,
And I
sorry,
didn't
Jamie.
bother to check because you're texting me always in the middle of the
Jamie,
night.
I'm sorry for interrupting Jamie. He's just a dumbass. So okay, you can continue.
No, he's a dumbass. But we love our Higgins. We love him so much. He's a
Tell
good
us
guy.
about the wife's the matching pair, the husband and wives. Tell us about the wife's world time. I love this one.
Yeah,
It's
so
beautiful.
I already own this, and then it was like, oh, do you know what? I'm going to try and form a relationship with the AD. So yeah, I spoke to them in the local Patek shop here in Marbella, and I came in with my watch, and she said, "Oh, I've got the perfect." I said, "Oh, I want to buy something for my wife." She goes, "Oh, I've got the perfect watch for your wife," and then she pulled this out, and it was like, oh, how could I like not even purchase this watch? It was just I couldn't say no. It was just impossible to say no. So yeah, my wife's not so crazy about watches, but it's more so me, and I love her deeply. She's a an amazing woman, and it was just my romantic side, of wanting like the his and hers, and travel literally is so important for me. It's a
I
very
know
important.
I know that Higgins is dying to like pull up these OC comments, but just before he does that,
Yeah.
one thing for a discerning collector to see on these dials is if you look in the section just around Tokyo, you can see that these are Beijing dials. So these are newer world times. I believe after 2019, Patek changed Hong Kong on the dial to Beijing. Kind of a controversial. Archie talks about that topic a lot. For him, Hong Kong means something to him. He goes to Hong Kong pretty often. I don't know if that's really going to bother a lot of people, but it's somehow, Jamie, become a contentious point. Like you see it on the forums, like I want a Hong Kong dial version of it. I don't want this version, or I want a Beijing dial. So that city apparently is pretty contentious on the world times in the Patek world.
Yeah, it's no issue for me, but I can understand why it would be an issue for some people. But really, it's zero issue for me.
So we have an important question from Original OC. Does my G-Shock with all time zones count as a world time?
Of course it does.
I would say yes, because as far as I know, many of the G-Shocks even spell out the city on a subdial.
Well, Jamie and I would agree that if your world time requires about a mile-long walk around the block to get, at least it winded. That's the rumor I heard on the Archie Luxury show earlier today.
Yeah,
Then OC's world timer is probably better than yours.
you shouldn't believe all rumors that are spread on the internet, I would say. But let me welcome Chris Clues, who is really one of the supporters of the first hour here on the Swiss and John show. And if I remember correctly, even on my time at Perth Luxury. So good to see you. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Can we see you wind the watch?
I have to go down now again. I mean, I showed you the dial.
Okay, just make me show. I show my screen. I have some more limited editions to show Jamie. So
Yeah. Please. Have you seen? Is Liverpool on that list?
it is not. There is another
Okay.
UK city on it. Let me just once Jonathan lets me shares my screen. We'll.
No, I'm here.
Yeah, just share my
There
screen
is-
and then you can go.
There is a
Okay.
Liverpool edition of the Patek Worldtime, and it was done with Boodles, which is the AD in Liverpool.
Okay, cool. I'll try to find it. So this is the Shanghai edition of the 5130 Shanghai in red here. Pretty decent if you like the black dial. Very, some people it's very, very popular with a lot of folks. This is the Munich dial as we discussed earlier. Different guillochage here in the center with a blue Munich listed showing here at 12 o'clock. So really, really nice. Again, similar vibe of the 5130. You can see the unique hour hand here. Another Munich edition in the white gold, some more Munich edition. So this is actually a very good looking watch, Jamie. I really do like. Obviously, I have no connection to Munich, but if I were Mr. Higgins and I was looking for a German piece, this would be the one I'd be looking for. So this is the other UK city that I could find, Jamie. This is the Edinburgh version. I believe this is through either an authorized dealer or something. There was some special occasion they did the Edinburgh version. I don't know if it was for charity or not, but very cool in the purple Edinburgh. Was showing
And
here
the
as well.
stitching, the purple stitching to
Purple
match.
contrast stitching, exactly. So
Yeah, I do like that one. I think that purple one is beautiful.
and that's 25 pieces, Muhammad Ali. That's
Yeah.
really, there's not a lot of them out there. So if you're
Yeah.
trying to get yourself an Edinburgh runner from Scotland, right, this would be a great piece.
Exactly.
And then we have this one here, the Mecca edition. I showed this a bit earlier. It's definitely famous enough. There's 150 pieces of it in platinum.
Tiffany
Green dial.
before it was Tiffany.
Sorry, Tiffany?
Tiffany color before it was Tiffany.
No, the Mecca dial was always in green. It was
Yeah. No, but you can confuse it with Tiffany color.
Oh, I see. No.
No, Tiffany's blue.
Blue. It's not green. So here is Saint Helier. I think, is this in Jersey? Where is Saint Helier?
Yes, Isle of Man. Yes.
Isle of Man. Okay, so this
Is it Isle of Man or Jersey? It's one of the two.
I think it's Jersey. I think.
Yeah, it's Jersey. It's Jersey.
We have this in the house. Hello, this.
So this one's for our good friend Sirocco Sales from Jersey. This is interesting. If you kind of look at this green, it's I don't actually mind this green, to be honest with you guys. And they got the Beirut edition for our Lebanese friends. So this looks like a chocolate dial. You got Beirut here in a bit of a brown color, and pretty nice. Pretty nice. I've never seen this one, the Beirut edition, so I'm learning about this one today myself. Then I showed the Dubai edition earlier, and I think that's it, guys.
You're missing the Tokyo edition, the recent one.
Yeah, that's the recent one. I can pull up the Tokyo edition for you guys.
Tanto, out of all of them, is the Canadian one the one that you kind of
the Canadian
aspire to own the most because it's local to you? It's your country, it's your homeland.
Exactly, and I think that's the point I was trying to make is when you see these world times, and a lot of folks, they see these cities, and part of the charm of these watches is the romanticism of, do these cities mean something to you, or are they exotic, and you want to, aspire to travel to them, or you kind of think in your mind, you imagine like what could be going on in those cities right now. Like the cities, I think, are very, very important to a world time, and for me being from Canada or identifying, as Canadian, having a Canadian city is very important. I am a little cheese, Muhammad Ali, because Canada used to be on the chapter rings or the city rings on Pateks back in the day. They used to share it with New York, but we're not in a big enough market right now.
Did they spell out Canada or
Montreal? It was Montreal.
Okay.
Yeah, Montreal.
Did anyone ever make an entire list of all the cities that appeared on Patek Philippe Worldtimers?
This is the beauty of it, right? Like, for example, Jamie was mentioning that there's a Liverpool edition. So I've never seen this watch. So I'm going to start hunting now for the Liverpool edition version of it. Because, look, people can order piece uniques, right? Ed Sheeran has a piece unique 5230 with his town in it. We saw it the other day. So they do exist. It's just they're very, very rare, and they may not be cataloged.
The Liverpool one was it was Boodles, which is the AD. Maybe it was Boodles' 50th anniversary or 100-year anniversary, and that's how they got a collab, if you like. For
you know what? From my boy Jamie Oppens, I found it. Look at this, not this. Look at this.
Yeah, and that pink is the branding color of Boodles.
So this is it looks like a 5320, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see a Vesselton diamond, so this is a 5320 white gold. Very nice. No comment, Higgins?
I'm just focusing on something else at the moment.
Okay. Jamie, I don't know about this Boodles on the back. Boodles 1798 to 2008. I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird, isn't it?
Outside of that, stunning watch. Like, this is cool. Very similar to the Ed Sheeran, his piece.
I'm just trying to pull up a picture of the Ed Sheeran Worldtimer. That is where I was.
I think the Liverpool one and the Tokyo one look the nicest.
Yeah, I can pull it up here. I can pull it up here, Jonathan, if you like.
I don't know why Hodinki's webpage is so slow at the moment.
It's okay. I got it.
Okay.
So here we go. We got the Ed Sheeran article, and I think this is the one you were trying to get to. And here we go. We've got Framlingham. That's the special city right here. That's the town he's from.
That is the town where he grew up, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah, so he commissioned a regular. This is just a standard, same as mine, basically 5230 with his city. They're very cool. Now, Jonathan did ask me to pull up the latest version. So this is the newest iteration. So for Jamie and Muhammad Ali, this is what I think the next, maybe release that they're going to do. If they do a world time this year, this is what it's going to look like. So Jamie, you can obviously see in the lugs, this is the first thing that Jonathan immediately identified was, hey, they changed those winglet lugs that he loves from our model to these step lugs, which are very common. Like, for example, my 5212 has the same lugs. So what are your kind of thoughts on this first change here on the world time?
Yeah, the lugs are very, very nice. I'd love to see them carry on with the lugs in that manner. I love the color scheme. So is it plum purple? Like
A plum, yeah.
perfect. Really, really beautiful. And I love how they've got, with the Japanese flag at the 12 o'clock position, the red.
Yeah, that
rise
is a very
just-
nice touch.
The rising
Yeah.
sun,
But I would prefer the date not to be there. I think it's just a little bit too much.
I entirely disagree with Patek Philippe here, because there is a reason why the preview picture of this show had this particular watch on, and it is about the lugs. And in my opinion, the Tokyo edition and probably the next model of the Patek Worldtimer that we will see will not have those beautiful edgy lugs anymore, but those stepped lugs, which are a step back, in my opinion. So,
what are we
in my
disagreeing
opinion-
on? What are we disagreeing on? You said you disagreed with me on something.
No, Jamie. Sorry. Jamie said that the stepped lugs are an improvement, and I entirely disagree with him here.
Not that it's an improvement. It's just standalone. I think they're beautiful. But I wouldn't say it's an improvement. I love it as it is with my one. I think it's perfect.
Jamie, my issue with it is it just seems like if you look at the photo of it, it just seems like they just tried to enlarge the watch. And obviously they didn't, update the movement. They're still using the 240HU movement. So you got a movement that arguably was in a 37 millimeter watch when it came out now into a 40. And, they're just enlarging it to add the date, which look, my 5212 is in the similar size case with the step lugs. And while it's nice, like I did not believe Jonathan when he said the winglet lugs on this watch are like they make the watch. And when I put the watch on the wrist, that was the first thing I noticed was the lugs. Like, you just can't get away from it, right, on this watch. And I think that like without it would really take it away from me. Personally, at least the enjoyment that I get out of this watch.
Yeah, I just feel the date is not necessary. I love that they've done it, and I love Patek with all their innovation, but I just don't need the date on this world time.
You have another ring with a lot of information that makes it even more cluttered, in my opinion. My modest opinion.
Maybe
Ali,
if it was
date or no date. I was gonna say Muhammad Ali, date or no date, where it's a very contentious topic here.
It is. I think a no date's better. I think
No date,
focus
okay.
on the world time, focus on the cities, focus on day night. I'd go no date.
Yeah, if I was in Tokyo, though, this would mean so much to me if I was to buy it.
Oh, totally.
That Tokyo disc it's by far it's the best one. I think it's the most beautiful one.
Well, knowing a little bit the Japanese collectors, this has been sold out within the blink of an eye. So original OC makes a very good point, and I think we already touched that topic. Patek Worldtime reminds me of my wonderful childhood growing up in Los Angeles. He's mocking on Los Angeles, but it's difficult because if you spell it out entirely, then it gets more cluttered, and then you compare it with Cairo or cities with only a handful of letters, it becomes very unbalanced. But I think that the deeper thing behind it is that every city or most of the cities ring a bell with us, and everything is individual, everything is personal. When I hear Hong Kong, something goes on my mind, and this is probably different than what Jamie thinks at that moment, and Patek Philippe thinks. But we are talking about a romantic complication, and that is what it's all about. And you have to experience that, and then you realize that it's not only a marketing spiel. There is really something behind it. It touches you emotionally, just like no other complication on a watch can.
Can I ask you guys a question? So, and this is for all three of you guys. So, in your mind, like, because looking at the world time, and as we're talking about it being art and emotional, and the way I see it, a circular case, really signifies when you look at a circular case, you see all those cities going into circular. It reminds you of the world, and it reminds you of all these cities being part of the world. Do you feel that a world time has to be in a circular case, or would it take it away from it for you guys if it wasn't because of that?
Wow, that's a very good question. I've never thought of that. So like a tour, no. It's just perfect. That nothing needs to change. It's perfect as it is.
Yeah, I'd agree with Jamie on that. I think the world, you need the kind of the circular, because obviously you go around the world, you go around all the time zones, and it all kind of all connects. I think if you had a different shape, it wouldn't be a true representative of the globe and the cities and how the kind of time zones.
Ten, are you talking about? Are you talking about the dial or the case shape?
Well, that's a a great question, Mr. Higgins, because you know what I was going to show you is this one. I knew exactly where he was going with it. Do you mean the dial or the case shape?
Gotcha.
Because Mr. Higgins is not going to mess around. He's going to say, well, look, you can still have a different case shape, but the world time could still have the same effects. So it's obviously a Voutilainen with a different case shape. But I don't know. Does this work for you guys? What do you guys think?
It has to be a circle, I believe, because of the to divide it the 24 hours precisely, like geometry. You need to have a circle. So yeah, this doesn't. I mean, this looks awful, but it works.
Well, no, but that's the point, Jamie. Is because just like Muhammad Ali described, he sees a circle, and in his mind, that signifies the world, right? Just like you're saying, it's ugly because it probably breaks that for you with a more square shape, for example, right? So I'm really of the belief that the world time personally probably needs to be a circular case. I don't know. Fight me, Higgins. Fight me. If you
I disagree with you.
Of course.
The thing that fucked up this particular watch are those screws with that sign of blind people. I mean, those 3 dots. Not sure if you have that also in Canada or in Spain. Blind people are wearing a kind of yellow thing around their arms with 3 black dots on to show that their eyesight is.
That's a German thing.
It's a German thing, okay, but I still don't. If he put those screws on the back, I would love that watch, but I think those screws are ruining it. Nothing else.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Higgins disagrees, and Dirk Diggler is saying, "Fight, El Diablo, Higgins, do it." We've been fighting for years, man.
Oh yeah,
it's an ongoing war. It's an ongoing war. I've won many battles, but the war's not over.
But I think I think we never went on our throats. And I think it's better than having all the same opinion. I mean, when we are saying all Rolex, how boring would that be? So.
Well, that's a good segment. It's a good segue, right, Jonathan? Because there was a few other people that had, that have world times in the community that A, couldn't make it or wanted to be here and whatnot. I know that I was speaking to Fella. He's owned the 5231 like Jamie has. He loves it. Says it's one of the greatest watches, big part of his collection. So a lot of big time collectors have world times in their collections, as you could see that we showed, from Ed Sheeran to just regular people to all the way to cloisonné dials, with others, right? So Jonathan, I think there's a few others that had some photos, right, of World Times in the community that we could share?
Yeah, in the community, I still hope that that Russ is hopping on, but of course, I'm happy to share a couple of pictures. 1 second, catching me on the wrong foot
I've
now.
looked at a lot of the World Time watches from all the different brands,
Mhm.
and there's two in particular that I really like. I like the Amiga,
Mhm.
and I also like the Chopard LUC World Time.
Now, is the Amiga, Jonathan? Is that actually considered a world time, or was that like more of a dual time? I wasn't sure if the Amiga was the one that had the marketed as a world time, but it wasn't a world time.
I don't think that it was the Omega. I think the Omega is the no, it's a Vacheron that is that's
The
the
Vacheron
other
is the one.
side.
I see. I see.
Round.
Okay.
So yeah, I have some pictures here, and this is Russ's Worldtimer compared to the Worldtimer of a friend of his, and you can see that those are really handmade and all vary in terms of coloring and also in terms of usage of color. And Russ is saying when you order or when you get the allocation of a cloisonné Worldtimer, by the way, it's not Khaleesi, it's cloisonné. If you have the privilege to be considered to get a Worldtimer, you're basically fiked if you're getting a less desirable color. And I would give Jamie that his Worldtimer is one of the vibrant, colorful Worldtimers.
But at the time when this was released, the 5131, that would have been perfect. I just believe that the 5231, they've perfected it. But when Russ bought his, that would have been the perfect one.
Can I give you guys a bit of nerd commentary here from a Patek fanboy?
Yeah, please.
On this watch? So you can easily tell that this is a rose gold piece. There's one identifier that can tell you this is rose gold, outside of obviously if you can see the color, but sometimes the colors can be a little obstructed with the light. So simple, the 5131R was the only 5131 with Brisbane on the dial. So as you can see here, you got Hong Kong, Tokyo, and you got Brisbane.
Wow, you did some research.
It's the only world time, production world time, that ever had Brisbane on the dial. Archie thought he made the mistake of thinking the 5230 did because in the promotional photos or the prototype, Brisbane's time zone was different. And then Patek updated it, and Brisbane got removed from the dial.
But not all rose gold have Brisbane on the dial.
Exactly.
And I will show you.
That is true.
Or I will try to contradict you.
No, but this is how you can tell it is a rose gold, because the only one is rose gold. But yes, you're right. Some don't.
That is Russ's own Worldtimer with a cloisonné dial, and this doesn't have Brisbane on.
That's right. I think it's like a 010 or something. It's a specific reference that has it.
Yeah. We Tan, you and I, we had that discussion, and I asked back with Russ. So with the 5130, there are some rumors. It is not official, but it's said that the 5131 was at least partly done by Anita Porcher. And so the world famous enamelist who usually signs AP on her dial. So if you see a cloisonné dial with AP, it's not by Audemars Piguet, it's by Anita Porcher.
Yeah, he also doesn't have Dubai, and obviously Dubai is now on the new versions.
That's right. They would have replaced Riyadh with Dubai. Riyadh with Dubai. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so everything changes just like our world changed, I would say.
Well, that's the interesting part about it, right? I think it's something that a lot of folks may overlook when it comes to world times, or may not know, especially new people that are watching that are kind of new to Patek Philippe or even world times. Is this generation and the current generation that's there, right? Number of cities are different, right? Marshall Islands are different. It's not on the dial anymore. There's no more Rio, it's Buenos Aires, or in that area, I think they have Buenos Aires now on the dial. And other cities that are different. Riyadh is no longer the dial. You have Dubai on the dial. So they do change over time, and that's a really cool thing to see, because it it can kind of show you what the political dynamic of the world was at a certain point in time. Like if you go to a vintage, 2523, Jonathan, if you pull up a 2523, it'll show completely different cities, and it would show, maybe the influence of those countries in the world, at a different time.
Baghdad,
Yeah,
Aden,
exactly.
Let me just welcome another Worldtime owner,
Hey,
original OC. Good to
original
see you.
OC. What's up, OC?
Not a Worldtime owner at all, but if I ever were to buy one, this panel can attest that I've reached out to at least a couple of you to get your opinions on things that I might do in the future. And obviously, I've seen Jamie's incredible watch. I think both of them even in person, and I've obviously consulted with Tan many times on Worldtimes, and he's steered me in the right direction when I've shot him a screenshot like, hey, what do you think of this one? He's like, I don't like that one, or maybe you should get the next reference up that's has a better movement or a more modern movement or whatever. And so I wanted to just jump on and say my huge appreciation of the panel for what you do for the watch community and for guiding people in the right direction and saving people from making tremendous mistakes. So
There's only one world time for you, OC,
Oh,
and that's
boy.
the New York edition.
Does that have like a New York? No, that's white gold.
That's right. Yep.
But it's super expensive. I think it's like $20,000 more
It is.
than the And what's the difference?
New York skyline.
New York
Yeah,
skyline.
you can identify with.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, but that's the point, OC, I think, is because New York is where you're from, and so, or where you live, and so it's going to have some romanticism to it, right? Guys like me that don't live in cities that can get major exhibitions like that, like it's definitely something that if I lived in that city, I'd probably seek out.
Well, I mean, I saw one. I think it was 57,000 for 5230G New York edition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're about right. Yeah. But as I was describing earlier, so this is a vintage Patek, and you can see the city layout, even countries are listed, and even I think states are listed here. Because I think California is somewhere on California is right there between Klondike and Mexico, Denver, right? So completely different format, maybe the different influence, OC, if you think about it, right? Like at the time when this was created, maybe Los Angeles wasn't a big name in the world, but California, everyone knows California, right? And you see other, like Jonathan, I don't know if you want to go to the cities.
Bombay, Calcutta, these were so important places.
Yeah. What I really love is Auckland Islands next to Marshall Islands. Why did they put Auckland Island?
Yeah, look, maybe that's how it was referred to, back then. It's just interesting because if you see Beijing, so Beijing's back. So this whole thing with Archie about Hong Kong on the dial, I kind of tell him, I said, well, look, Hong Kong's not, yes, it was on for a while, but it's not like Beijing wasn't on the dial. And you can see it right here in a name that's even before, I'm assuming Peking, but you see it, in the time zone before Tokyo. And even a weird city, see Adelaide there. That's an Australian city that's in a same time zone as Tokyo. That's very unique to see Adelaide and the influence maybe of Adelaide at the time. When this
Aden is Yemen, right?
I believe
the Gulf of Aden.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So question to OC, would you feel more comfortable if a Worldtimer for you had California instead of L. Angeles?
Well, you know that L. Angeles has been a pet peeve of mine. I'd actually prefer California. I mean, ideal scenario, I'd love it if they just spelled Los Angeles out. I know they have the room, so it irks me that they don't. But California to me is probably is preferred over L. Angeles.
Okay.
But they don't make current dials with California. Only L. Angeles.
No. Well, Anders and Genève can do that because they are customizing everything for you.
Yeah, thanks for that tip.
Yeah.
When I meet with Sven in a few weeks, I'll ask for that.
You can, and he will be happy to take your order, I guess.
The most interesting thing for me here on this dial is just the absence of the Middle East. In the sense of its, or even the kind of the influence of the Middle East and how it's kind of shaped differently than I guess you would see like how the Middle East is today, right? Like when people think of the Middle East and you're kind of thinking of romanticism in the Middle East, you're thinking of Dubai, right? You're thinking of that's where everyone kind of thinks about it. They think of Dubai. When you look at this style, right? You've got Moscow, then you've got, as Jamie's pointed out, Yemen, right? A very, I mean, it's not really on the world stage today outside of,
No.
some conflict that's going on. Then you go to Mauritius, which is, off the coast of Africa. And then you're going to the Indian, and then you're in the Indian subcontinent, which we obviously knew at that
Ceylon.
time. Right,
Yeah,
Ceylon's Sri Lanka. Go ahead,
The
Jim.
Middle East is like
Gone.
almost skipped.
Yeah, but today,
70 years ago.
yeah, but today you're seeing
Yeah, I got Dubai, Karachi, Dhaka, and then over to Bangers.
Yeah, I mean, Cairo's not on this dial as far as I can see, right? And Cairo obviously was, I'm assuming was important back then, but completely gone, just completely off the map, right? Whereas today you're seeing Cairo, you're seeing Dubai, just different how the world is kind of perceived, from the eyes of the manufacturer, the customers of the manufacturer, even.
So the dials are like a history lesson in influence over the years.
Totally.
Exactly, yeah, because we were talking about how Hong Kong changed to Beijing, and Archie's all about it's political, right? And there are people that seek out specific Hong Kong dials because they're like, no, I want this dial. So, yeah, it definitely influences people's, I guess, the time that they lived in, as well as the influence of the customers.
So OC, when you're meeting up with Sven Andersen, you can
don't
you can ask him about that.
Yeah.
You don't like that?
No.
I think that's super cool.
Yikes! You guys agree with this? You like this?
It's awful.
Awful.
Okay.
When Jamie says something's awful, I trust him 100%.
You guys are hard.
It's almost.
I
it's
share the
impossible.
taxi ride with you.
If Jamie says something is ugly, which he didn't say, but he said awful, then I cannot overcome that veto. I cannot.
Yeah, I'm not such an expressive guy, and if I get the word awful out, that means it. I really mean that.
Yeah, but I'm taking that with a grain of salt because I totally love it. I mean, nobody else, with the exception of IWC, uses the city ring now as a bezel, and that goes back to the times when we had the 25, 23, and I think it's a nice touch. I know that those are very high sought after, and I really like it.
Can I make one comment on this style?
Yeah, please.
So if you look at the Indian subcontinent, right? So on the traditional Worldtimers, Patek Philippe Worldtimers, you have Karachi and you have Dhaka, which is two different countries. You got Pakistan, then you have India in the middle, which is skipped, and then you have Bangladesh, which is Dhaka, right? Here, because India only has one time zone for the entire country, which is a half-hour time zone. So it's interesting that they have New Delhi here, which is a different time zone than, for example, Karachi, which is, it's just interesting that it's, I think Delhi maybe an hour, and maybe not a half hour, maybe an hour. So it's just interesting that they skipped that one, and they chose to put India on the dial, whereas Patek, for example, doesn't. So just an interesting viewpoint as I look at kind of the layout differences.
Do you hate that watch that much, just like Jamie, or what is your opinion about that?
I think the city ring obviously gives me vintage vibes for Patek, which I like. You got teardrop lugs, which are, it's not for everybody. I like them. Not everybody likes the teardrop lugs. I think the dial is where it really falls a bit short for me in that sense. Like if it was a cloisonné dial that was a bit more intricate, it just seems a bit plain. But maybe that's the purpose, right? It's meant to be a vintage inspired piece, and therefore they wanted to just have a different look than.
Yeah, it looks exactly like the vintage one that they made 30 years ago. They're celebrating the 30th anniversary of this particular watch, and they're doing a re-edition.
Yeah, I think the thickness of the day-night ring too it seems a little bit too thick to me, given the size of the dial. If you just go back to the picture, not
one second. Yeah,
not to scare the audience again, but. Nope, not that.
Well, that is the vintage one, and the test is similar.
Yeah,
similar.
It seems like the day-night ring is on the
out of proportion.
Yeah, a little too thick. It makes it look a little less elegant.
Tough crowd, but I knew that I'm here surrounded by Patek Philippe fanboys. So, Mohammed, what do you think about that particular watch?
Oh, I mean, I'd have to agree that I think it is hideous. The dial, and having the globe on the dial isn't intricate enough. Just seems like to be just a straight map. But what I do like about it is that the city names are in the local language. So you've got Copenhagen and Rome and Moscow in the local language, which I think is quite cool. Rather than having it in English, have it in the language of the city or country you're representing.
And I think it's a good point that Muhammad Ali brought up, right? Like if he can immediately identify that it's hideous, right? That's his first reaction, right? The whole point of a Worldtimer is beauty. It's not accuracy. It's not technical innovation, right? What else are you getting out of it besides beauty? And so if it's not beautiful, then it's going to struggle, right? And I understand that
But beauty
they're
is
doing
in the eyes of the beholder.
I
isn't it?
agree. But this is a business too, right? They're marketing a watch as a business. They ain't making watches for you for free. Like they're trying to make money here. And so
They're making watches for me for free?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is they're not making.
I didn't hear that.
They're not making them for free. They're making them to make a profit, and therefore, to make a profit, it kind of, in my opinion, misses the point. I understand that they're trying to make it a vintage inspired piece, but like Muhammad said, it's kind of a hideous piece. So, like, why are you reissuing something that's not really that pleasing?
You need to let it become vintage. Not so. This is quite a recent release, isn't it? This is like in the last 10 years or so.
That is 2025. So that will be presented in Geneva.
So it's coming. Bloody
yes.
Yeah. You just need to release a watch and then let it age naturally, not release it and expect.
30 years ago, the watch was 32 millimeters. So how can that age?
This is 32 millimeters?
No, the old one was 32. That one is 37. So they sized it up. So, but it will be interesting because I invited Alex, the owner of Anders & Genève, for the show tonight. But he told me that Mrs. Alex doesn't allow him to have business talk on a Sunday. But he probably will listen and laugh his ass off because from the conversations that I had with him, I know that there are diehard collectors of those.
But that's the point. That's the point. Look, for Anderson Genève as a business, right? They may have a core group of collectors that are just diehard, that are that love either the vintage watch, and so they're going to make a batch for these collectors. Absolutely, right? And maybe that is their market. That is what they're going for. But I think if you're presenting this to a broader audience, Higgins, then it's going to be difficult because it is very niche. It is not as appealing as other ones we've seen today are, for example, a bit more pleasing to the eye. A guy like OC who's trying to dip his feet into a Worldtime, he's going to look at what appeals to him. That's I guarantee that's how he's going to buy it. He's going to say which one looks the best and which one am I not going to take a beating on if I take this step. That's basically going to be it. So if it's something that doesn't even visually appeal to him, it's a no-brainer. He's not going to buy it.
And by the way, I'm happy to, if I'm in Geneva and I bump into Alex, I'll be happy to put your name on the request list, Jonathan, and submit on your behalf your 25,000 Swiss franc deposit.
It already happened. I see. It already happened. But thank you very much for the kind offer. And I appreciate your reporting from Geneva. I think the independents were much better and much more interesting than the mainstream brands, where it was a little bit difficult to get an appointment and everything. I mean, how cool is that? You walk into the room and you have Philippe Dufour greeting you in person. I mean, how cool is that?
We're planning on doing Independence, I believe, on the 12th and the 14th. So, and the 13th and the 15th, we'll be doing the big brands. So look forward to that and put that on the calendars. I think the 14th is going to be the main day within the exhibition, and the 12th is going to be the main day outside the exhibition for Independence that we're looking to do.
Very good. So you're spending an entire week in Geneva again?
It's I arrive on the morning of the 11th, and we'll be doing the 11th and 12th outside the exhibition, and then we'll be doing 13th, 14th, and 15th inside the exhibition.
Okay, and you're wearing those stodgy sneakers again that everybody complains about?
Yep. No, those are Skechers, and SKECHERS.com.
You have a share. You have shares from Skechers, or?
I don't want you to have to put one of those banners up on top that says product placement includes product sponsorships. So
I was hoping that you're wearing a Skechers hat, actually.
No, I don't wear baseball caps. I mean, I let my big forehead, you know, exposed. I want it exposed to as much sunlight as possible. And I am wearing the Oliver Peoples sunglasses today. Shout out to Oliver Peoples, official sunglasses supplier of Original OC.
Oh, so you know what's interesting? The only thing Higgins got from last year is like the Skechers. One thing stuck with me, and I brought this up with Higgins like a few times.
You're so mean. You're so mean.
Well, this is the only thing you remember. The one comment that I remember from you last year at Watches and Wiggles was, everybody's wearing a dress watch, and I can't tell them apart. You know, and it stuck with me because if you really think about, like, if you buy a dress watch and it's very monotone or it's a singular color or whatever, you can get that vibe, right? They all look the same. When you get Worldtimes, this is something that's kind of the theme of the show, is very busy dial, and therefore in some Worldtimes have a contrast on the dial. Like mine has a white, for example, city ring and a gray center. And so it really does pop, and it can differentiate that. And I'm going to stop talking because I think we do have a special guest here, Mr. Higgins. So
yes, we have a special guest, and I was really working my ass off in the last couple of weeks and months to have him on the show. So welcome.
If it's super special, I'll jump off, leave room so that way we can have an even number of panelists.
Stay, OC, stay.
Right.
But I was not talking about you. So let me welcome my good friend Benjamin Chi here on the panel. Hello, good evening, good night.
Oh, hello, guys. Thank you for the very warm welcome and the very kind words. Can you all hear me well?
We can hear you perfectly.
Loud and clear, Mr. Chi.
Wonderful. I had some problems connecting just now, so I wasn't sure if I got through.
What's funny, Ben, Higgins was having some trouble figuring out what time zone you were in earlier before the show started. He's like, which time? I'm like, don't you isn't the show about Worldtimes and we both are wearing Worldtimes? Like, let's try to figure this out. So it was a little embarrassing at the start of the show. But
that's really ironic. Yeah.
So what time is it at the moment for you, Ben?
So it's 8 minutes to 4 in the morning, actually.
Oh shit. Okay. And you haven't slept yet?
No, I haven't slept yet. I've been training myself to stay awake for the last few days at this time.
Yeah, I think that is dedication, and Ben, I can't tell you how much I really am grateful that you're doing, because we were talking about for a couple of days, and you said, let me try to change to adjust my sleeping pattern so that I can make it on the show. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the funny thing is I used to stay up really late for probably the last 10 years. But I think maybe age is catching up with me. And, the last year or so, I've just been falling asleep at around 12 midnight, which I suppose is my body finally, rebelling after so long. Just trying to live a normal human schedule, I guess, quit being a vampire for a change.
The funny thing is, you're talking about getting old, and you're probably the youngest here on the panel. I mean, Gonzo Jaming is old in his mind. But
what's important is to be young at heart, young at mind as well, young at heart,
You got it.
Yeah,
I do have, for the audience that hasn't met Ben, I do have, Jonathan, if you want to just pull up what I pulled up, just an intro on some of the pieces that Ben's created. Obviously the monochrome article from last year, some Celestial Voyagers, a big fan favorite here, Ben, in the watch, in the watch world on YouTube. We love it. Mr. Higgins has been spruiking his watch all over the place. And I'll be honest with you, Ben, I got roped into Worldtimes from him, and a few of my friends that, like, Jamie, who's on the panel and stuff like that are constantly talking about it. This is a romantic.
You can see what a terrible job I did because I bought a Patek Philippe.
Ben, I'm the guy who buys the perpetual calendar Patek, who, like, it needs to be accurate and the day needs to be, it's the whole technical aspect of it. And and Jonathan's been like, man, you're missing the point. Like, you're missing the point. And then he would tell the story about, the connection. So, maybe a nice intro for everybody that doesn't know. Benjamin Chi does create, some absolutely fantastic watches, that have been highlighted all over, the internet. I pulled up a monochrome article here. Bit of an introduction for everybody. Jonathan, I'd love to, now that we have Ben on the panel, obviously, some of that personal experience that you said. It's not about, you're missing the point, right? So what was it about your experience with Ben, where you kind of, the light bulb kind of went off and
I'll give Ben the floor, because
Sure.
I'm pretty sure Ben remembers the first time that we talked. And
Absolutely. Well, it's been quite a while already, hasn't it? It's been probably coming to 2 years now since the monochrome
half at least. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably, because we launched the Celestial Voyager first in June 2021, and I think you read the article, I think December of that year. So
yes.
So yeah, it's been about almost 2.5 years already.
Yeah.
The time really flies,
Yeah, and back then, and I think that is the most important part. We all have been locked up during COVID.
Yeah. Well, the world has changed a lot since December 2021. That's for sure, for better or for worse. And yeah, I remember you. One of the things you mentioned that struck you about the article was that I created this watch out of a sort of to remember what it was like to travel, to recapture the romance of travel.
That's excellent, Ben, because I was curious. I said we're getting a bit of the behind the scenes that we haven't heard. So hopefully now having you on the panel, we can get a bit of a take on. Obviously, this crazy German guy reads an article and then reaches out to you and says, "Hey, I'd like you to make a piece for me." What was he?
Well,
as the artist, right? You're receiving his request as the artist. Like in your mind, as you're creating these pieces, like. Obviously you take the, we want to understand the process, because there's a few of us that are interested in bespoke pieces. Kind of, what does that process look like, working with you and taking kind of the idea to paper?
So Jonathan's requests were pretty extensive, even by, bespoke standards. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Well, at least not for me. Maybe for Alex or the craftsman, they had a bit more headache than I did. But for me, I love it, because I think bespoke watches is really what differentiates my brand from the big brands. And the ability to customize almost every aspect of this Worldtime is one of the biggest draws, I think, when I created this Celestial Voyager. The fact that you could specify exactly which cities you wanted, the dial, obviously, the engraving. I mean, it makes it so personalized to you, and it really makes it such a, truly an heirloom. So it's not just this cliche thing where you look after it for the next generation. It truly is something that you treasure and you pass on to your son, your daughter, or your grandson or granddaughter. And it's just this beautiful family thing where there's such a strong connection to your life, your lifestyle as well. As with Jonathan, he wanted the 3 gold dots on 3 very special places that meant a lot to him. So that was one, major bespoke connection that I quite enjoyed carrying out for him, actually. And you wanted very special cities, I remember, Jonathan.
Yeah, I wanted to change half of the cities as well.
Well, that's not actually unusual. I mean, that's quite common, but I think your choice was quite unique, I think you wanted the GMT, was it?
Yes,
on
I
one
wanted
of the
GMT
cities.
UTC reference to John Harrison, yes.
Yeah.
Now,
so that's quite unique.
I was going to say, Ben, it's no surprise to us that Mr. Higgins is quite particular. I think a lot of folks in the chat really liked that piece of the little tidbit you gave us in the particularity. So we do have Jonathan's watch here on the screen. Jonathan, please walk us through. Please walk us through the masterpiece.
So, Jonathan, I'll let you walk us through your masterpiece.
No, Ben, you do it because you put it in better words than me.
Yeah, so if you can see all the bespoke requests here, we had the 3 gold dots on Bora Bora, Hamburg, and Hong Kong. So 3 very special places to Jonathan. And the choice of cities, I mean, he literally changed half of them. Some of them are quite unique, like GMT UTC. I think that's pretty much the only piece that we did such a time zone on. And the map as well. I remember you went through 3 iterations.
No, two,
So-
only 2.
Oh, 2, okay.
And
Only 2
to my
iterations.
my
Yeah.
defense, the first dial has been broken while being printed, and then
right,
Alex said
right.
that he's going to improve something.
Right.
So
Well,
Ben, you
Alex
don't get
bore
to,
the brunt.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, Ben, you don't get to hear a lot of stories about your pieces being, after they've kind of gone to the collector, and then how those pieces are influencing the people around the collector, right? So I'll give you a personal story. So I
Yeah.
was very fortunate to pick up a Patek Worldtimer earlier this week, and my good friend Jonathan's been congratulating me. We've been talking on the phone throughout the week. Now, today he somehow forgot that he was doing a show on Worldtimers and decided to call me at 5 in the morning. And I live in North America, and I kind of, when I saw the missed call, I kind of thought in my mind, does this guy like not have a world time? Like, how does he not know it's not 5 a.m. and why is he calling me, right? So it was just funny because he did know that it was 5 a.m. and he just didn't care, right? So it was just cool to kind of think of that, where it's like, hey, this guy should
No,
be using this.
you're wrong. I didn't know and I didn't care.
Okay, so there you go. So that your watches are being used completely not for the purpose of it, and just as basically a piece of wearable art. But that is the purpose, in my opinion, too, of it, is wearable art in that sense, right? And we did play a little game, Ben, at the start of the show called "What does this dial? What does the cloisonné dial say about the owner?" Because they are bespoke and custom made, and we kind of looked at Jonathan's dial and we said, yeah, but because for example, in his dial, North America is completely gone as well as South America, right? So his center of his world is completely different than somebody else, right? And that is unique. We kind of look at that, and it tells a bit of a story of the owner, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah. And his map is quite extensive, actually, because most people don't have the entire Eurasian and African continents on their map, so they just go with just Eurasia or perhaps Asia. But Jonathan, being Jonathan, has the entire, Eurasian landmass on his map. So that was another
Africa and
challenge.
Australia.
Exactly, yeah. So that was another challenge for our enamelers.
Yeah. So I'm just pinpointing a little bit on the details of the cloisons, because that, in my opinion, really makes this watch stand out. And this, in my opinion, is a sign of quality, how elaborate that is compared to, sorry guys, a Patek Philippe, where you have a very simplified shape.
The lakes, for example, you've got the Black Sea, you've got what's that lake around
the
China?
Caspian Sea, and Baikal, Lake Baikal.
Is that Lake Baikal? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's quite detailed.
Yeah.
I mean, if you consider the size of the cloisonné dial is roughly 1.8 millimeters in diameter, that's roughly the size of a dime, a US dime. So that gives you an idea of how small that is and the kind of detail we have to squeeze into it.
Yeah, and I don't expect everybody to agree or understand why I chose that map. I'm just trying to highlight or pinpoint on the level of details and the quality, and also on the fact that you can really customize that. Tan and I, we had that discussion about his Worldtimer, if he could have Canada on the city ring, and probably unless he develops some singing skills like Ed Sheeran, that will never happen with his Patek Philippe.
Well, I think that's so when I finally got the point of like, hey, it's not about accuracy, it's not about needing to have a functional complication all the time, then it became about the romanticism. It became about the emotion, Ben, and that kind of takes away from it, because if you're thinking of all these cities and what people could be doing or places you've been, when you don't see you're sitting on your city or your country on the dial, it does take away from it, because that is the point, and that's why, you know, coming to, you know, a business like yours, where you have a customer that knows exactly what they want and understands what they're getting, right? That's where there can be a real ton of value for a collector that really wants something bespoke, that, you know, that speaks to them and can tell a story like Jonathan's been telling for literally, you know, the past, you know, since he's got delivery essentially of the watch.
Exactly. So for someone that wants to really customize his piece, I think my Celestial Voyager really allows for that, because you can literally just specify everything, anything you want. You know, the dial, the choice of cities. Jonathan even has a bespoke pattern of guilloche on the rotor, which is, I think, the only one we ever did for any of the pieces. So it's still unique. I mean, we've created probably about 30, 40 Celestial Voyagers by now, and his pattern is still the only one that exists.
You make it sound like it's a bad thing, which probably it is.
I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, that's a good thing.
No, it's okay.
It's really good that you've taken advantage of the ability to really get it bespoke. I mean, I love it. I'm not the one actually doing it, so, you know, no problem for me.
Have you ever met
yeah,
the enamelist of Anders and
I have, yeah.
Okay.
I did, yeah. So the last time I was in Switzerland, we went down to La Chaux-de-Fonds, and we met up with the enamelers there. I think I arranged a visit for you as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
A couple months ago, yeah.
Yeah, I met her last summer, and it was a delight meeting the woman who made that dial. And no matter what everybody else says, I absolutely love that dial. I would not change it against any Patek Philippe dial. And it was very touching to meet the woman who made that dial for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it was a great choice. You know, I personally think your dial is one of the most beautiful we did for the World Map Celestial Voyager, because I mean, the tones of blue, the choice of the Eurasian landmass. I mean, the 3 dots just makes it really special.
Ben, one common criticism that I'm hearing about my watch, not that I care, not that it really matters, because it's my watch and it's no one else's business, but people say it's too dull, it's too monochromatic, and you and I, we had a discussion about colors and doing it like Patek or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all personal choice, isn't it? I think the sort of monochromatic blue look suits the platinum case and the Aventurine city ring. For Patek, you know, it's a bit more, multicolored. I think that kind of suits a more rose gold case, and the I would change that city ring, so I wouldn't go for white. I think that does really suit the dial. But I kind of like this monochromatic look. You know, it's a bit more subtle, more dignified looking, and was unique as well. You know, no one else creates such a world time with this sort of color scheme.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point, because you told me, well, of course we could do the colors just like Patek Philippe, but I don't want to copy Patek Philippe. I want to make my own thing, my own design. And when I reached out to you, I said I love the colors. I like the simplicity and the simple look of the watch. And so I didn't want those colors.
Definitely. I mean, if you look at our Sunset of a Cappadocia edition, I mean, that's super colorful, but you know, it kind of it works in its context. So it's really personal preference. You know, do you want something more intricate, more vivid, more colorful, or do you want something more dignified and elegant? You know, the simple answer to that is just get both, I guess.
I would agree.
Yeah,
Can't
I think
go wrong with that.
I think
especially
it's
with the
super
rose gold
important.
as well.
I think
sorry,
it's super important, and that is what I like about you, that you really try to make your own thing and not rip off somebody else or something else. And I think it's very important to be like that.
Yeah, look, some of these subtle details really, like I'm looking at my Worldtime, Ben, and then I'm looking at the Cappadocia on the screen, and just looking, for example, at the hands, right? You have skeletonized hands on this, so you don't want to, because you want to show, obviously
exactly.
the dial. You don't want to hide it. Whereas the guilloche, even though I have a skeletonized hour hand on my Patek, the minute hand is still not skeletonized, and it hides the guilloche. So still an attention to detail that the artisan is probably saying, well, no, I don't want to hide the beauty that I've created, right?
Exactly. And me and Alex, we experimented with different hand types, all sorts of different hand types, sizes, widths, just to come up with this specific combination, which we thought struck the best balance with the beauty of the hands itself, and also to show off the dial. Because as you said, it was important that we were able to not block the dial in any way.
Yeah, I find it ironic because I found this particular hand shape on a vintage Patek Philippe pocket watch recently. Did you know that?
Oh no!
I mean,
no.
I mean, that's like saying you saw a circle like 50,000 years ago, right? Like, I mean, it's not like they invented the hand shape, right? Like, it's kind of a strange question.
But I was happy because I've never seen that hand shape before, and then I saw the predecessor or the ancestor of that hand type.
And he just doesn't want anybody to say he has any lineage to Patek Philippe.
No.
I'm a big Patek fanboy. He knows I'm
quite the contrary at the moment.
You saw a skeletonized hand on the Patek pocket watch? Really?
Yes, those hands, okay. that type of hands, yes.
Skeletonized leaf hands, really?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have
I will try to find the picture again.
A picture of it?
Too bad. I think I saved it somewhere on my iPad. If I have it, I will send it to you.
Okay. Interesting. Because I don't recall seeing vintage skeletonized leaf hands on any watch, not just Patek. So, no, and it's quite beautiful as well because, I'm a big fan of vintage Patek and especially the Worldtime pocket watch. I think it's beautiful. The 1415 that Agnelli wore, the 2523 especially as well, which was a major source of inspiration for the Celestial Voyager. All the old school Pateks were beautiful. I'm not really a fan of the modern ones though. I think the proportions are a bit off. Lots of things I would improve on that.
I was having a bit of fun with Higgins a few weeks ago. I sent him a Rolex Worldtime pocket watch. Louis Cartier, Rolex had commissioned a few, and Cartier had made a few. I sent it to him in a text, and then I think he responded why, or he called me and said that the Patek that I sent was beautiful. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's a Rolex. And he completely overlooked.
You sent me that picture at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was checking my iPhone. That is my defense.
Okay. So, but the point is that it just looks so identical to the because obviously at the time Cartier is selling to Rolex, selling to Patek, selling to everybody, right? But just a very interesting piece that if you look at the Rolex pocket watch, it's very, very similar to the Pateks.
So, but Ben, you said
I guess the movement itself was a bit different. Sorry,
No, you please, Ben.
He was saying the movement he thought was different. Yeah. I mean, it's possible that the movement's different. It's whatever they slap the Cartier design on, right? The Cartier mechanism on, anyways. So.
Yeah.
So Ben, you said you had some points of criticism on the recent Patek Philippe Worldtimers.
Yes. So I think the city ring being white, having a white background, it's a bit bland, and the font. Honestly, the font is pretty horrible, and it's a bit too wide as well. The city ring, some of the vintage ones have city rings. Yeah, So it's not proportionate to the dial. It just looks a bit off. It's like they made the case larger, but they didn't make the cloisonné portion larger. So you know, it's just a bit thrown off.
I would say
This
that
looks better.
the city ring contrasting with the cloisonné, or even on mine, so I don't have the non-cloisonné version, so I have a slate gray guilloche dial in the center. When you have it
Right.
on the wristband, what's different is that you got a basic dress watch in 38.5, so you know, probably kind of in that sweet spot size, but that contrast really pops in real life. Like when you see it on the wrist, it draws the eye that it's something different, in that there's 2 tones on the dial, or 3, more than a few colors on the dial, right? So that in real life does work. I do understand I agree with the font part. The font could
Yeah.
definitely be different. But just from an
This
aesthetic
font is-
perspective,
Yeah. No, sorry. This font isn't even the worst one. The one that I really dislike is that the curvy one.
cursive one,
Yeah.
because the one that looks a little
Yeah.
bit more like cursive. Because I would agree, it seems a bit dated. I would agree with you on that one, and partly also why I
looks
didn't
like
really
font.
consider that. Yeah, so he's referring to the
Yeah,
font on
sorry.
the 5131, Jonathan, the one that Russ has, for example.
Yeah.
Bit of a different, more italicized.
So Ben, this is the first we got Tanzil to admit that something on a Patek Philippe is not perfect. So this is a world's first, I would say, and kudos to you. So I was trying now for over a year to get that out of the guy, but you just got it. So 1 second, I'm trying to find the.
But again, like I was describing on the hands, right? So same thing here, right? The minute hand is obscuring the cloisonné dial, right? Whereas on Ben's, you know, you can see everything, and I think that's the point: is you want to see it. Why are you paying for something you can't see, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that is the dodgy font that you guys have been talking about.
This is the one. This is the one. It looks like someone just printed it off some Word document. You know, so, like someone just took a random font of the Word document and just printed it on. It just
Ben,
looks
have
horrible.
you heard that on the 5131 that Anita Porcher was doing them partly unsigning?
Really?
Unsigned? Yes.
Herself or her
Yes.
her atelier?
Her atelier probably. Not sure
Okay.
if she did it herself.
Right.
Apparently there is a picture of her workshop where she
Okay.
has the design of this particular watch hanging on the wall.
Okay. Very well could be. I mean, it's Patek after all, so they've got that pull. I mean, you know, I like to evaluate the watch individually, you know, apart from who supposedly did it. So, I mean, you probably have to look at the dial and the quality of the cloisonné as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it's certainly nice then when you have a personal connection to the artisan who made your
For sure,
your
yeah.
dial, and I would say that was the highlight of my trip. 2 hours later, I was meeting with Recep Recepi, and I would still say that is at least equally the experience meeting those people, because I was really excited and thrilled.
Because I think that's the point, right? Is none of these things are make any sense, right? Watches, you know, functionality, they don't make any sense, but it's the experience that you're getting out of it that makes the sense, and it's that emotion that you get out of it, that you said, hey, I had this great trip, you know, or I've had a great, you know, call with Ben to talk about where I want to change my dream into something. Because look, Ben, we all buy watches and we all criticize, oh, I don't like this about my watch. Now you have a time or a chance to create something that is
Exactly. I mean, that's literally how I got into making my own watches, because, you know, whenever I bought a watch, there was just something that I wanted to change about it. And so I just thought I'll create my own, basically, where I could really specify every single detail. And, and I guess allow people like Marcus to, like Jonathan to create his own watches as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's that is certainly. Yeah, I think we're both in the same minds when it comes to look at your personal watch and then think, this would be better, and maybe that can be improved. I'm on the record of annoying Lange and Söhne for asking, can you make the big date in black instead of white? And the answer is always no. So,
but it's also a very personal thing, right? Because you're making this to your personal taste, which may not be the same as everybody else's. You know, if I'm gonna go buy a watch like this, at that point, right? Like, I don't care what anybody says about it, because I don't care if they say, you know, well, why is it not this brand, or why is it not this lug shape, or why did you choose these countries or these cities? Like, for me, it's at that point I won't care, because I went so far as to say, I want this to be exactly like it should be for me, and I don't care what anybody else says. And honestly, Ben, if you see a lot of the streams that Jonathan's been on over the past year, like, as much, you know, criticism and critiquing that people have given him, which a lot of it's personal taste, you know, to him it's been as perfect as it was, I would assume, since the day he got it. You know, that's the sentiment I get as he speaks about the World Time. And what really drove me to consider buying this complication for my own collection was his story around, like, the romanticism between creating his own, you know, bespoke and unique piece.
No, definitely, and you know, that's part of the beauty about it. I really love the fact that Jonathan is so opinionated about his own piece, you know, because some people might be swayed by, you know, the words of other people, and it's really great that Jonathan still, you know, is fully in love with his piece, you know.
Well, Ben, you made one crucial mistake. You opened the door and I ran in. So,
well, I opened the gate wide open, you know.
Yeah, and then I stormed inside and said, "You're my man," because my previous experiences were so much different. So I fully took advantage of everything that I could get. And
happy to facilitate.
But I was always a little bit afraid to piss you off, or to piss the guys at Anders & Genève off, but at the end of the day, I got your approval, and I know that you have fantastic taste, so I knew that I was not totally wrong.
Well, you know, the joy that you experience when you receive your watch, I mean, it just makes it worth it, you know, because I mean, we went through quite a few months of refining your design, and the finished product really speaks for itself, I guess. And the fact that you're still waxing lyrical about it till now, I mean, it makes it worth it, to be honest. You're probably going to keep the piece for at least a couple decades, maybe a couple centuries. So, you know,
I'm not sure how long I'm going to live, but Tan made a very good point, and we had that discussion a couple of days ago, where he said, "Look, this watch is so personal to you. I'm pretty sure that you already have someone in mind who gets the watch when you can't enjoy it anymore." And I have someone in mind, but I'm not sure, you know, young people, in my opinion, you shouldn't gift your son a Rolex until he's at least 30 years old. Because if you gift a Rolex at 18, the chances that it's getting sold for something crazy are very high.
I wouldn't underestimate people's interest in watches. You know, I have a very simple story. You know, my grandfather was very poor. Like, I didn't come from money, and you know, he always wanted a Rolex in his life, and he didn't achieve it. And when he passed, he was wearing a G-Shock, and nobody else in my family wanted that G-Shock, but me. And for me, it was special because it was his watch. It didn't matter what it was, how much it was worth, or whatever. You know, it was his watch, and so I think that, given the story behind your watch and how much, you know, it's not, you know, it's not value to anybody else but you and your family, right? It's not a Rolex where, you know, you'll just flick it like it's a commodity. It's something personal and special that I think continues your family's story. And so, you know, picking the right person to get that is going to be the right, because look, Ben, not everybody buys watches for the stories and the emotions. A lot of folks just buy watches for investments, or, you know, as we talk on YouTube, the flex, right? To say, hey, look at me, I got this piece, right? But there's a lot of collectors that buy watches for the story, the emotions, and I think, you know, that group of individuals are still there in the community. You know, the folks that obviously a lot of them watch this show, that I think this would appeal to, Jonathan. So I wouldn't say don't count your don't count your chickens before they're hatched yet. I'd give it some time.
No, definitely not. But what I really appreciated is when we had that discussion, Tan, and I'm now serious for a moment, and that bonded us, and that also showed me that you understand the story of this particular watch. You told me, look, I know that this is a family heirloom and it should stay in the family, but if your wife ever decides to let this watch go, she should call me. And I think that is a very important point to me, and I think that bonds us closer together, even more than it is at the moment.
Well, to me, the story would be lost at that point, right? When it becomes a commodity, when it becomes just a wristwatch, you know, really the story, the essence of it, the soul of it's lost, right? And in my mind, it's you know, even Patek themselves, they in their museum, they don't just have their own watches, right? They tell the story of other watchmakers, because it is the story of where they came from. So the story, at least to me as a collector, guys on the panel, like, that is a big thing for me of why I buy watches. Ben, this is why, you know, I really do enjoy a lot of your work. You know, I'm a big fan of the Peacock, I'm a big fan of the Starry Night, and a lot of the works that you've put together, because they do speak to me both in an artistic way, you know, as well as understanding your story, right? Somebody who decided to take a different path in life, and, you know, is following their dream as well, right? So I do definitely respect that to the highest degree.
Thank you. That's really a nice thing to say. You know, especially for me, the story is a very important part of why I create a watch. And, you know, as a collector myself, the watches I buy from other brands for vintage watches, the story is really what matters. I mean, recently I just bought a few deck watches, deck pocket watches with World War I and World War II history. So a big reason why I bought them was the story behind it. Well, the history behind it as well. So, you know, to me, that's a huge part of why I buy a watch and why I create a watch as well.
So, Ben, when we met the first time in Geneva, I think you got a Worldtimer that you still own, which is this one here on the screen, and
exactly,
we had some pretty harsh remarks about Anders and Genève Worldtimers, and this is the Anders and Genève Mundus. Maybe you can tell us a little bit why you chose this particular watch.
Just before he gets into that, Jonathan, I actually got to run. I'm super late for lunch, so I do have to love you and leave you guys. Benjamin, it was an absolute pleasure, you know, to chat with you. Jonathan, obviously, thank you so much
as well
for having me.
I forwarded your contact information to Ben, so
amazing.
So I sent it already.
Amazing, amazing. Because I did definitely want to talk to Ben about some pieces offline, but I'll be listening in, guys. I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Tan, for helping me out, and you have a great
enjoy your lunch.
Bye now, guys.
Bye. So Ben,
this is the Mundus. It's the thinnest Worldtimer ever created, 4.2 millimeters in thinness, and you know, Sven is known as the watchmaker of the impossible. So this is one of the examples of why he creates the impossible, and you know, it's just a beautiful piece.
Yeah, the watch is only 5 millimeters.
So it's got the crowns at 3 and 9. So that's similarity.
Yeah, here in that article,
4.2, if I recall. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think it's under 5. I'm not. I don't remember the exact measurement, but I think it's 4 point something, which is really amazing. And you really have to touch it. It's thin like a stamp. Yeah.
It's really small as well. I think off the top of my head, I think it's about 32 millimeters diameter.
Are you wearing that, or is that just part of your collection?
Oh, it's part of my collection. So it's a new stock piece. I haven't worn it outside the house yet. I like to keep it pristine. I actually don't wear most of my watches, actually. Don't really have the time to, don't really have the occasion to, ironically. These days, I hardly even leave the house, to be honest, so...
Okay.
I quite like just admiring them, in their display case. To be honest, the weather in Singapore is not very suitable for, older pieces because of the heat and humidity.
Yeah, we have that discussion with the leather straps and humidity and when you're sweating.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
horrible.
always an issue. Yeah. And
These days, I
leather
just wear FKM straps. To be honest, I mean it's comfortable. You can wash it. It's perfect for this sort of weather.
FKM is what?
So it's a sort of rubber.
Rubber. Okay. So it's a kind
Yeah,
of silicone strap. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wear all sorts of watches on rubber these days. Dress watches, sports, obviously, all sorts. So something special about this piece is the fact that the entire world map is on it, which
Yeah, one
is
second.
obviously it's not closeted, but it's still amazing that they were able to squeeze the entire world map on such a small dial. Because I mean, the center is probably 0.8, I think, in millimeters. Probably about one millimeter.
1 second. I try to pull it up now. That Tan has left the building. I'm here on my own and I'm struggling. So here's the watch again. Yeah. So it's that's really small. The center of the dial.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, OC earlier criticized that the numbers are a little bit too big, but that is a I think 25-year-old design.
I quite like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the numbers are in good proportion to the rest of the dial.
Yep, and it has the famous Teletubby look that you try to avoid with the Celestial Voyager.
Exactly. I mean, it's hard to avoid, to be honest. The crowns are at 3 and 9, but the only way is just to make it super thin, like we did.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've seen now that Anders and Genève is moving now also to pushers instead of the dual crowns. Isn't
exactly?
That very much? Yeah. So is that an option for you, or would you say that that destroys then the symmetry of your design?
I think I still prefer it with the 2 crowns rather than a pusher, because I think the pusher just sticks out. It looks a bit like like an ear or something, and it's
like
a bit. Yeah, well, it's a bit asymmetrical, isn't it? So you've got it at 3 and 10. So I don't quite like the, and they look different as well.
So that is a very interesting statement because, when you're on the internet, of course, everybody has an opinion, and everybody is writing on those crowns that they are too small. And should have a pusher just like Patek Philippe. So I find it very interesting that you say even if you had the technical ability to add a pusher, you would still keep it just like it is with the 2 small crowns. And I'll be honest, at the beginning I was really struggling setting the watch. But if you own it for, let's say, 4 weeks, this gets a normal procedure, and it's not really a bad thing anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the crown on the left is actually the easier one to wind. It's the one on the right that's a bit more difficult because you got to pull it out.
Yeah. But I can totally live with it. And one of the criticism is you can't wind the watch up. And there is a simple solution. You just shake it 3-4 times, put it on your wrist, and there you go. So
the solution is just wear it more. Yeah.
So in my opinion, what is important is you have that symmetry in the design. You made it like that. I like it like that, and there is a good reason for that design.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at it head on like that, you can barely even see the crowns.
Yeah.
So that's just part of the charm, I guess. I thought of doing something like the 1415 as well, actually, with the the metal city ring portion in the case metal. So you just basically wind the bezel rather than having a crown or pusher.
Yeah, did you hear that that Anders and Genève is reissuing one of the watches with the cities in the bezel?
Oh no, he didn't
One
tell
second.
me about it. Yeah.
So it's breaking news probably for you. So, I just had a discussion with Alex, and I tried to get him on the show actually, and he authorized me showing that, but the feedback was not very positive. So that is a breaking news. They will show that in Geneva, and it will be introduced in 2025 to the market. So I think that
it's
is
actually quite pretty, to be honest. I mean, I personally quite like it.
Say it again.
It's actually quite pretty, I think. This specific design, which is a bit different from the 1415. So the proportions, I think, are even better because the matte portion is larger than the 1415, and the lugs are a bit different. So if I'm not mistaken, you just turn the bezel, isn't it? For the cities.
Yes. You don't need a second crown. You just turn the bezel.
So that's just a very simple, elegant solution, And the only problem is that you can't have an Aventurine. So that's that's a design choice, really.
That is true.
But I think something like this with the cloisonné dial would be quite pretty, actually.
I totally agreed. My only criticism are the lugs. I'm on the record not liking teardrop lugs, but I know that this is a reissue of the first serially produced Worldtimer that Sven Andersen did, and they are making a re-edition. It used to be 32 millimeters, now it's 37, and I like it. Everybody else didn't like it.
This is the communication, I think. I can't remember the name of it.
Yes, that is communication. Yes, they're calling. What was the old one also called communication?
I think so. They had a couple. They had the Christopher Colomb. They had the communication. I think was the largest series. So this was one, and it can be had quite reasonably on the secondary market. I think around 15,000 francs, give or take. So that's a hell of a steal for Andersen Worldtimer. No, but it's beautiful, and the fact that they're reissuing it, I think I might pick one up myself.
Yeah, it pushed a button with me, but to be honest, one Worldtimer is enough for me. So I'm not in the market for another one at the moment. And there is no way that I'm getting rid of the one that you kindly made for me. So what is? So I'm pretty sure you will present something on the Andersen booth in Geneva coming April, or is there anything new spectacular?
Sure. So I'm trying to convince Alex to do another Concorde, the rose gold one. I think I've pretty much convinced him already with the different Concorde dial, and we've got the Sakura coming up in April, so we're entering that for the JPRG this year. So that's going to be a more feminine piece, I'd say. Although I would still wear it. It's not going to have diamonds, I think. So it's going to have the pink gold case. And a cloisonné dial with cherry blossoms, and we're still deciding on the exact dial design. So it's going to be sort of cherry blossom sakura themed. So we're thinking of having a pagoda or an arch bridge or Mount Fuji on it, and the MOP city ring. So it's something very elegant, very romantic looking, and we're going to enter that for the JPRG this year. So you should see a piece in April at the AHCI fair, hopefully, if Alex can get it done in time.
There was a question from a viewer. Any news about the stolen watch that has been stolen?
Unfortunately, no. I mean, to be honest, I'm not keeping hopes up of that. So, yeah. I just wonder what happened to it. I mean, did someone try to sell it, or is someone happily wearing it? Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, yes.
It'll make someone happy. Yeah.
Probably somebody who has no clue what he has in mind.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame, you know. That's the one that I really love, the Aurora. I think it's probably the most beautiful Celestial Voyager so far.
Don't say that. Mine is the most beautiful. No. I understand that. So that is the Concorde edition. So that was available. Is that sold out, or is it still available?
So it's still available. Not yet fully sold out. This is the first Concorde, and then I designed a second one where it's the Concorde is taking off. I don't think there's a picture on the internet. It's on I posted it on my Instagram stories, but I don't think it's on the wider internet.
Yeah,
if we get Alex to create it, then hopefully you'll see it. It's beautiful in rose gold. I think it's perfect.
It looks amazing. I've seen one picture. Russ sent it over to me because I'm not on Instagram. 1 second.
Let me try to send it to you on WhatsApp right now.
Okay.
Yeah, just give me a sec.
So the Concorde, you've sold already a couple of them, and you're fighting with Alex if the enamelist is able to do them. Yeah,
well,
Dodger.
That's always a battle, isn't it?
Dodger is in the comments, and there is a famous picture of him in the cockpit of a Concorde, and he really flew it. So he was working for a contractor of Concorde, and he was frequently flying there, and he knew all the picture, and they let him in the cockpit and fly it.
Oh wow!
As the co-pilot, nice. and there is a very cool picture. Dodger, if you want to send me the picture again, I will happily show that here, if you want. So Dodger said I should give my Benjamin Chi high horology to him. Dodger, with your lifestyle, I would say that you probably have less years to live than me. But I will keep you in mind, and I will tell Mrs. Higgins that you're interested. Thank you very much.
Just sent you the picture.
Oh yeah. 1 second. I try to open it. You're now moving away from alligator straps, as far as I can see. So you're also using nubuck more and more, don't you?
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends on the watch. I think this nubuck really suits this particular piece. But straps are easily changed, so that's not a problem at all.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny with many people on the internet. Instead of discussing really about a watch, people say, I don't like the strap, or you should.
Yeah, I mean, that's the easiest thing to change.
Yeah. So that is, in my opinion, the updated Concorde. And to be honest, I like this one better than the previous one. Because
Me too.
Yeah, you too? Okay.
I personally prefer this one. Alex prefers the other one, the New York one. But, I think this one gives a certain feeling of flight, like it's taking off.
To me, it shows the brutal force of the Concorde. Just the speed it needs to take off. And
exactly,
the things that happen around the wing edges. So I really hope that Alex approves it. And I'm happy to debate it if he says no. With him.
Oh, he's approved it. He's approved it. It's just a matter of, can we get it ready in time for April? Which I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, his analyst probably is busy.
Yeah. It takes a long time to create the dials, and then we've got to install them and assemble them, and it's a long process. But we potentially have a buyer for this piece already. which is why I created this mock-up. So
Okay.
hopefully that will speed things up a bit.
So the city ring there is mother of pearl, as far as I can see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've got the rose gold city names, and you've got the gold pions, the pioneers, on the sky. So that's all solid gold pieces applied. And you know, that beautiful blue, turquoise, orange combination really suits the rose gold case. I mean, it's just a very romantic, rich, characterful color combination.
So those little dots that look like stars are paillons, so little golden
Exactly,
dots,
yeah.
correct?
So
And it's a micro painting.
exactly.
Will you have a cloisonné there,
So
or
this
is it only?
This would be cloisonné. So so on that 1.8 millimeter dial, you've got two enamel techniques. You've got cloisonné and you've got paillonné, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and probably micro painting there as well, because I think it's very important. Those, I don't know, those flares around the wingtips. I don't think that you can properly border them. So it's a kind of painting,
that's
isn't
true.
it?
That's true. Yeah.
So that's gonna be interesting.
No, for sure.
So what is your comments on the fact that those become more and more popular now among ladies? I mean, you entered the GPHG in the ladies section in the last year. Is that any problem for you? Did you pick and choose that, or was it?
Well, Alex and I discussed which category to enter it in, and we decided on the ladies complication. Just as for something different, I guess. And interestingly, the very first buyer of this Celestial Voyager was a lady, so we definitely shouldn't ignore that segment
Of this particular one, okay. So 1 second, I have the
picture of the world map. The original Celestial Voyager.
Okay.
Back in 2021. Yeah.
Okay. So that is Dodger.
Of the one that you're using now, the picture you're using, she bought that exact piece.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So that is young Dodger in the cockpit of the Concorde, smiling like he does. And he said that the nose was up. That is why it's dark outside, and you can also see the scales really in motion. So it's not the plane being on the ground. So it was really flying.
Oh, is this in flight right now?
Yeah, this is in flight. Okay. He was piloting for 1 hour with the kind help of the of the first officer or the captain.
Okay.
I wouldn't have felt comfortable if I would be a passenger if Dodger is piloting it. But that is how it was.
Was he just a passenger on this plane, or was he a part of the crew?
I think he was a kind of passenger, but he was working for a contractor that helped British Airways to move their computer systems, as far as I know. So he was pretty involved with everything Concorde, and people knew him and people recognized him. I think he also got a couple of free flights on the Concorde during his job. So yeah,
nice job. Well, they probably wouldn't let normal. Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead. So yeah, I remember the time when
the controls. Even if in the old days they would let you into the cockpit, you probably couldn't sit at the controls and hold the steering wheel. I guess is that what they call it?
Yeah. I remember once. That must have been now 35 years, 30 years probably. I was flying in a brand new A340 back then, Qatar Airlines, and I asked if I can join the cockpit during flight, and I was guided to the cockpit, had a chat with the captain, and went back. That is impossible today, But back then,
Yeah.
you could do this kind of stuff.
I've never tried. I mean, recently, I probably worth trying actually.
Yeah, you
I
know me
probably
now
have
a little bit. I'm
yeah.
not shy asking, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? I mean, the last time I went to the cockpit, I was a young kid, probably about 12 years old. So that might help if you can pass for a young kid.
Yeah. So Dodger says it was a test flight in the early 80s.
Yeah, because the Concorde started flying in 1978 or something, 76, I think.
Wasn't it in
So that must
1960s? 1 second, let me check.
No, I think 60s. It was still in sort of development.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the first flight was 76, off the top of my head.
1 second. Concorde.
Have you ever flown on the Concorde, Jonathan?
No. Never had the money. Never had the money. I was pretty close to flying to it because I once took British Airways to Newark, and our flight has been grounded, and some of the passengers they booked then on the Concorde. So you're right. The first commercial flight was 1976.
Right.
So the first prototype
Last
was
flight
1960.
was, I think the last flight was 2003, November something.
Yeah, that terrible disaster that happened in Paris, I think, killed the Concorde for good.
Air France, yeah.
That was
Did you know
tragic.
that Singapore Airlines flew the Concorde for a couple of years? I think about 10 years.
Was it really 10 years? I thought it was only one flight or something like that. But I know that
definitely more than one flight. I think it was a couple years. Can't remember how long.
Okay.
But it was quite interesting because I think they were the only other airline, apart from British Airways and Air France, to fly the Concorde. So that was quite interesting.
Yeah, that's true. 1 second. I'll pull a picture up.
And it was just one airframe that did the flight. So it was a GBOAD, which is currently in New York, in the museum.
On that aircraft carrier.
No,
Yes.
in the museum.
In the museum,
can't remember
okay.
which one. In New York, yeah. Just one particular airframe. This one, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was just a test flight. I remember they were also flying to Rio de Janeiro at one point.
Right.
So they were trying to test out the markets.
No, this particular one was a commercial flight. So it was operated by BA pilots, and then they had a combination Singapore Airlines and BA crew. So
and
they
where
would
did
stop
he fly?
Bahrain. So it was London to Bahrain and Singapore, which was quite an
Okay.
interesting routing. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Yeah. So Bahrain, okay. Very good.
Yeah, but this was long before my time, so I never got to see it. And this particular airframe was the fastest ever Concorde too.
So that broke a speed record then.
Yeah.
You should make a watch of that. I've seen the Singapore edition.
I plan to, yeah.
Yeah. You plan to? Okay.
Yeah. No, definitely. We wanted to do a New York, London, Paris, and Singapore edition for the Concorde. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
You recently launched a Singapore edition, which I really liked, of the BCHH.
Yep.
Is that official already, or is it sold out?
No, it's official. It's official. So it was launched, I think, late last year, if I recall, and it's quite popular because, as you can imagine, no other Worldtimer has the Singapore map on it. I think Patek has a Singapore edition, but it's not the map. So yeah, it's pretty unique. And we did a lot of Hong Kong, maps last year to a lot of Hong Kong buyers. So that was another popular one.
So a detailed map then of Hong Kong only?
Yeah, so we had a couple of buyers. So one had a Hong Kong map. One had, I think, a statue of a lion, which apparently is connected with Hong Kong. I think one of the mountains. And another one was, I think it was a Hong Kong buyer, but he went for the Aurora instead. So yeah, a lot of Hong Kong buyers last year.
So, but those were piece uniques, or did you make an official Hong Kong edition?
So right now, the Hong Kong edition is all just unique pieces.
Okay.
The Singapore edition is an official edition. So right now, the Celestial Voyager, we've got several different categories. We've got the exceptional editions, as I call them, which is like the Sunset over Cappadocia or the Aurora, Arctic Sunrise, and also the upcoming Sakura. So these are like the special pictorial dials, which are going to be limited edition. So they're limited to about 10 pieces, all 7 pieces, you know. And then you've got the standard map edition, which is Eurasia, Americas, Singapore, and you know, also bespoke maps as well. So those are what we call the permanent collection. So those are non-limited, although we're obviously producing very few pieces still each year, and those are just going to be the various maps, which you can also specify in different tones, and with some, you know, minor customizations. So nothing as extensive as yours. that will come under bespoke. If you wanted, you know, a really extensive customization.
Yep. I think the door is still open to do crazy stuff.
Definitely. I mean, I love doing it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It is more troublesome, of course, but you know, it's a fun kind of troublesome.
Yeah, you can be happy that not everybody is as complicated as me, because I'm pretty sure I wasted a lot of time of you guys, and I really appreciate your patience.
It was fun. Yeah. I mean, if everybody just wanted to buy a stock piece, you know, no changes, that would be so boring, to be honest, you know. So it's good to have a mix.
So I know that you were working on something extremely crazy. Which has nothing to do with the Celestial Voyager or your other watch projects. Are you able to talk about it, or?
I don't have all the finalized details yet, but I can definitely share what I do have. I think you're talking about my Stratosphere piece. So for one thing, it's going to be huge. It's probably going to be the largest wristwatch ever made, if I'm not mistaken. It's roughly the size of an iPhone. It's going to have 2 dials, astronomical complication, annual calendar, and a little moon face, you know, for kicks. And it's sort of a stealth fighter, supercar, super yacht on your wrist. It's going to be huge and aerodynamic and sleek. And it's sort of a futuristic concept of what a pocket watch, this watch, will be in the future.
So I have a question about the size, because I saw some sketches, and I frankly thought Ben is totally out of his mind. But
I always am.
But in a positive way.
Nothing new.
No, but my serious question is that huge size, is that dictated by technical requirements, or is that a design choice?
Well, a bit of both. So the movement is huge. It's a huge movement, which then has an add-on complication, which is the astronomical part. So it's basically a huge movement, and the case is formed around it, basically. And I told Alessandro Rigotto, who's responsible for designing the movement, I wanted it to be really like finish, you know, crazy to the absolute maximum. Lots of inward angles, lots of, you know, like I wanted to exhibit the entire movement on the underside of this huge case. And so he's doing that, basically.
Will that be based on a stock movement, or is that then a new movement?
So it's, I think, a vintage pocket watch movement from one of the big brands. I'm not sure if we can share which one, but it's a pretty high-end big brand, which he then refinishes, and then he has created a complication on top of that, the astronomical part and the annual calendar. So it's basically just a time-only movement, and he created all the complications on top of it, and then he's doing all the finishing and everything. So it's really a spectacle.
And the case material will be what?
So polished grade 5 titanium, of course.
Wow, a big piece of case and then polished titanium.
Exactly. Yeah. So you
the
can
people
imagine.
finishing that watch will love you.
you think you're crazy. I think I'm crazier. So exactly.
So what
It's
is the
good to know that
timeline
I'm
for
not
this
one
particular watch?
Well, we hope to have it. I don't know, by I told him I need it by April. I don't know if we can finish it for Watches and Wonders, but we're gunning for June, I guess, where we can submit it for the JPRJ, and definitely this year. I mean, it's been in the works for about 3 years now, so I mean that's just way too long. So hopefully this year it'll be ready.
And it
Gunning
will be
for
a
around-
manual wound movement.
Yeah,
then.
yeah, manual wine movement. Beautiful, huge tactile piece. It's meant to be a hybrid of a pocket watch and a wristwatch, and well, a clock basically. It's pretty crazy. If you see my Celestial Infinity clock, it's basically a wristwatch version of that clock.
Okay,
That
that
huge,
makes sense.
two dial astronomical clock.
But knowing you a little bit, I'm pretty sure the dial will not be a standard stamp dial. There will be some special features.
Well, there'll definitely be enamel on it, that's for sure.
Okay.
And that would just be the first iteration. And, we're planning for lots of
And then you
various
go
other
wild.
crazy iterations. You know me.
Yes.
So I'm always about pushing my artisans to go further and planning some engraving on the case as well. We'll see how that works out. On the case, on the movement, I mean, I've got lots of plans. I'm not sure if it'll work. We're still kind of experimenting with it, so that's why I don't have all the finalized details. But that's part of the plan.
Sounds spectacular and very interesting. So you're certainly creating some waves if that is finished, I would guess.
That's the plan.
Yeah. So you told me today that my Starry Night is ready.
It is, yeah, it is. I don't have pictures of it yet, though. It's still in China, so I need to go and collect it.
Second, I try to pull that up because.
But the front part is basically a stock Starry Night. It's the business end on the back that's the unusual part.
So you're talking about the movement finishing.
The movement, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like always, I had.
Like always, yeah.
I had some ideas.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, that is the Starry Night, which the last time that you went on the Swiss and John show, I immediately fell in love with, and it's over 2 years now. And what I did is I wanted my movement finished in rhodium, not gold plated. And you told me it's the only one, so there is nobody else who went that route.
It's the only one, yes. I've stopped offering it to anybody.
Because it's so troublesome, or because nobody else wanted it?
It's fine for me, but Lin Yonghua, he was complaining about it because he was saying to plate just one piece makes it so expensive.
Oh,
so it doesn't make sense.
Oh, now I feel
Yeah.
bad.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's good that it's unique, you know.
Mm.
So I was telling him, I mean, the whole idea is to make the pieces unique. So you know, we should enjoy it. But of course,
Another
that's
piece unique for me.
yeah, exactly. So right now we just offer you know, a choice of finish in terms of the scroll stripes or the frosting or
Yeah.
perlage. Yeah.
Mm. And you're also
Yeah.
offering the Breguet end curve as an option, or is that
Yeah,
no?
yeah, yeah. The Breguet overcall here.
Yeah. Okay. Mhm. Yeah, I've immediately fell in love with the watch, and I was talking about that. I hope that you didn't forget. You told me that at one point you're making me a Bora Bora dial. Is that still on the table?
Oh, I haven't made it yet.
Yeah, no, because
yeah,
we didn't
yeah.
determine on the motive and everything. But
Yeah.
please don't
Oh,
forget
yeah.
that.
I remember. It's the vintage one that I sent you, isn't it?
Yes, we both discovered. How long ago is that you discovered this
I
particular
think
watch?
that was sometime last year. But that would be great to recreate. I mean, can you imagine a cloisonné Bora Bora dial? That'll be amazing.
I think that will be so
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Try to find it. Yeah, but of course, no hits. You sent me that picture, and I totally loved it because I like those old cloisonné dials. Those colors back then have been
It just
pure
has a vintage. It just has a vintage look to it. I'm not sure if we can recreate that sort of exact vintage look, though. We can certainly try.
As far as I know, they can't because they had some lead there inside and some cyanide and whatever, and then you fired this thing up, which then polluted the air in the workshop. So I think the old material of those old enamel dials have not been really healthy, and I guess that's a reason why the colors today are a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think the modern cloisonné dials are actually more refined looking and more intricate as well. The vintage ones look, you know, rustic, but they have a certain charm about them.
Yes,
but if I had to choose, I would go for modern, to be honest.
Because
they look better.
Okay.
Yeah. The vintage ones have a charm about them, but the modern ones are more refined, I think, and more intricate. You know. The old ones, the vintage ones, a bit homemade, to be honest.
Yeah, the technology and the technique certainly has changed, but this one is my favorite cloisonné dial of all, because you can see the opaque and the translucent parts of the cloisonné, and I find that amazing.
Yeah.
That is the old Rolex that is getting crazy money. Yeah. So what else is new? Should we wrap the show up? I think you can't wait to get to bed right now.
Yeah, I'm about to tap out soon. It's about 5:08 right now. But I've got lots of new watches coming up very soon. I mean, I literally just received 2 batches of new watches. So right now I'm just having them photographed, and I'll have photographs of them in about a week and a half from now.
Okay.
Chris.
Chris is asking, what is your daily watch? Don't say Apple.
To be honest, I have so many. Right now I'm wearing one of my new ones. So one of the new prototypes. I mean, I'm always sort of testing something new.
Which brand?
So this would be the Celadon CL, which is a new line in my Celadon brand. It's sort of mid-tier line in the Celadon brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sits below the HH line, so it's going to have a huge range of new models: the Pearl Imperial, the Silver Snow, and the Cosmos Imperial. So that's going to have mother of pearl CNC guilloche dials or Pioneer enamel dials.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
haven't seen
so
pictures of that.
all that is brand new. So I'm going to have pictures in about 2 weeks from now.
Because so far you had the Celadon HH, which has
Exactly.
cloisonné dials,
So
and
that's
then Maison Celadon. So you're having something in between.
exactly. So this new line exactly is going to sit in between Celadon HH and Maison Celadon, which is sort of going to be retired because Beijing Watch Factory and the movements are essentially, well, defunct at this stage. So
How that?
Well, they've been on a long road of sort of closure, basically, after they were bought
Okay.
over. So I've sort of used up all my old stock of movements, and now I figure it's time to move on. This year is actually the 12-year anniversary of Celadon. 12 years ago, which is also my first brand. So I call it the Zodiac anniversary. 12 years,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I figure it's a good time to retire the original Imperial, which is literally the first watch I created 12 years ago. And it's more or less unchanged since then.
Well, I'm looking forward for the new update. Patek Philippe is asking for my feedback about the new movement, Caliber CH5. You and I, we've been talking a lot while you were on the hunt of an alternative movement. I think visually it's mind-blowing. It's spectacular. As far as I know, that ratchet wheel here pre-tensions the mainspring. Is that correct?
Yeah, so those are Grand Sonnery style clicks, and that's meant to sort of equalize the winding. So it makes the winding more fluid, more comfortable. The haptics are much better, and it also makes the I'm not sure about the technical term for it. It kind of escapes me now at this 5 a.m. Sort of time. It sort of equalizes the winding in the spring, in the barrel.
Okay.
Yeah, and that makes the timekeeping a lot better. So something that you usually see in Grand Sonnery watches. So something, obviously punching far above its weight here.
Yeah.
You've got that special, star on the barrel. You've got the Breguet overcoil, and you've got the very traditional 5-finger bridge architecture. So it's a big step up from the CH1 movement, which is the first movement that we created for the Celadon HH line.
What I find spectacular are those spokes that look a little bit like dragon legs.
Yeah, exactly.
So my feedback, and Ben, you know that I'm a very honest guy, and I'm not mincing my words. I think the movement looks spectacular. I personally have doubts that you're breaking the price bracket here a little bit for a relatively unknown watch brand. That is my main concern with that movement.
So you mean it's a bit too expensive?
Yes. So we're talking about a $30,000 watch right now, with a spectacular movement. No doubt about that.
It's actually sold better than the CH1. The CH5. We've sold.
I'm so wrong.
I literally just sold one. I just sold one 2 days ago, actually. I think we've sold 1.5 times more of the CH, and I haven't even actually launched it yet. So far we've had one article on monochrome last, and then so far that's been all the marketing. There's going to be a lot more articles coming up soon.
Well, it's spectacular, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. Visually, it is several steps ahead. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just a little bit worried that the price is getting too high.
Yeah. No. I mean, that's a fair assessment. Obviously we are a very young brand still, but the CH5 is a very expensive movement, both to develop and to create on a piece basis. So it's a lot more expensive than the CH1.
Oh, totally.
So the price has to kind of match up with it. But my intention was to give a choice for a less expensive movement or a more expensive one, depending on your needs and desires. I didn't really want to exclude a lot of people. Keeping in mind that that I am still a young brand, wanted to get as many people on board as possible.
Yeah, I think that is very important.
Yeah. So you have this choice of the two movements, and you can pair any of the dials with them, apart from certain dials which are exclusive to the CH5, like the 7 Wonders, because that one's a lot more complicated and expensive to create. Yeah. Apart from that, all the other dials are, freely pairable with either movement. So it's just, basically your personal choice. But I'm really happy that most people went for the CH5.
Oh, I'm totally happy for you, and I have no problems to be proven wrong. And I'm super happy that many people do the move and appreciate. I remember our first conversation, Ben, where you told me that so many Chinese artisans and Chinese artisans are known for doing cheap, and you're trying to
for sure.
You're trying to put a light on those highly skilled artisans who are able to do those amazing things.
Exactly. Yeah.
But their own way, and I think that is one of the beauties of the Celadon lines. Not everything is for my Western taste, but I appreciate the craftsmanship, and that the craftsmen who do that are authentic and are doing their own thing, and that is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, with regards to taste, that's why I offer various categories of dial designs. So you've got the more Chinese ones like this one, the dual swallows. Ironically, the Chinese dials are the most popular among the various categories.
No doubt about it. I would say a Chinese artisan can do Chinese style. Chinese style dials the best. Yeah.
That's the easiest one to create because that's the most natural for them. But I also wanted to do, Western style dials, for lack of a better word, just to show that we can do them as well. So you've got the Starry Night. We've got I'm launching 4 new dial designs in about a week and a half. So you'll see some new ones. I'll have to get around to uploading them on the website. I'm literally the only one doing the website. So
So Ben, you're too early then on the show. We should have waited for another 2 weeks. You mean that?
Doesn't matter. I can come on again. It's always a pleasure.
You're our special honorary guest, and you can hop on whenever you want.
Always on it. Always. Thank you so much. Always on it. And then you've got the technical dial, like the regulator, and a couple more coming up soon. So lots of different dial categories. So do you want technical? Do you want Oriental or Occidental? I mean, it's just completely your choice, But hopefully, we show that we excel at everything. Like the 7 Wonders is a bit more, I guess, international or European in style. And then you've got the Peacock and Peonies, which is more Chinese, I guess. The Mandarin Duck, super popular among our Chinese
I guess
clientele.
But I think the Peacock is just spectacular. It's so amazing.
That's really popular. Yeah. I love it as well. Yeah. It's really popular too. And I'm creating some of these dial designs like the Peacock. I'm creating them in CNC guilloche on my mother of pearl line as well, the new Celadon CL line. So, you know, some of them, so some people, you know, they like the dial design, but they can't afford the HH line. So instead of having it in cloisonné, you can have it as mother of pearl guilloche at a less expensive price. And obviously, it's not the same. I mean, there is still, you know, that need for differentiation. The CNC guilloche is done by machine on mother of pearl, so that's still pretty unique and still pretty special.
Yeah.
Whereas the cloisonné obviously is fully done by hand, and if you've seen how they do it, it's just crazy. I mean, they literally just take 0.05 millimeter thin strips of solid gold and form it to create that image. And then they fire it roughly 20 to 30 times in an oven to create all those amazing colors. So if you ever go to Beijing, Jonathan, I'll set up a visit to Xiong Songtao's atelier, you know. I've been there before. It's quite eye-opening, you know.
How different is that to the Swiss cloisonné artisan?
It's for lack of a better word, it's more Chinese, you know.
Yeah.
For lack of a in all its glory and not, you know. So it's very different. It's very different. So prima facie, I mean, you know, cloisonné is cloisonné, right? But Chinese cloisonné is actually very different from Western ones. So cloisonné first went to China, I think, in the Ming Dynasty. And from then on, it developed a very indigenous style. So China has basically 600 years of completely independent cloisonné tradition. And Xiong is probably the best one. His grandfather was the imperial enameler in the Forbidden City. And he himself pioneered a new technique, which he thinks is better than the previous imperial technique. So his modern technique, he claims, is better than the technique used during imperial times. And I think so too. I think it's more intricate. If you've seen how he creates it, you know, you'll see what I mean.
I'm very much looking forward to that, and that is a very important point, because I'm hearing criticism about my Celestial Voyager, they're talking about the Chinese Patek Philippe clone, and this couldn't be more ridiculous, because the watch is entirely made in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And just because your heritage is Chinese doesn't make the watch purely Chinese. But that is exactly what you and I've been talking about, the strength of those Chinese artisans. And I think we in the West sometimes look a little bit down on everything that is Chinese. And you're trying to change that perception with those amazing products.
Exactly. I mean, you know, it's been my mission from day one to sort of change that perception. China definitely makes a lot of bad things.
The West makes also a lot of garbage.
So, you know, so I want to highlight that. Yeah.
So, Ben, I know that it's very late in the night. I think as a parting note, I'm reading Bear Clooney Watches comment, which is really kind, and I totally agree with it. Ben is an exceptional watchmaker. You're not a watchmaker, but you're more a designer, I would say. Or are you a watchmaker? No.
Well, you probably wouldn't want to wear the watches I physically make. I have assembled watches, but I wouldn't say that's my forte. I mean, I guess I'm a creator of watches, but I'm not a watchmaker.
You know, when I started selling watches, I was more interested in the technical aspect.
Well, thank you for the very kind words, Bear Clooney.
Yeah. So Bear Clooney is saying, Ben is an exceptional watchmaker, true watch enthusiast. I think there is no doubt about that. Classy gentleman and a good friend. I appreciate Ben for all those factors. I have enjoyed today's stream. Thank you very much, gentlemen. and I think it's now very late, too late for you. So Ben, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for joining us and
Well, it's
telling
been
us a
truly
little
a
bit.
pleasure. Truly a pleasure and honor as always, Jonathan. And thank you for having me, and thank you for all the kind audience members and wonderful, beautiful compliments and comments that you've put on the show today. It's always fun to be on your show. I see this as sort of a unplugged show where I don't really have to be so official, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're trying to be. People call me arrogant or up with my nose, but I appreciate those amazing things that are not everybody's cup of tea. But I think everybody can have a normal discussion among fans and freaks and crazy people, and you're one of them.
Yep.
So Ben, thank you very much.
Thank you
very much again
Yeah.
for joining me. I will close the stream. I will play the parting clip, and Ben, please go to bed. Thank you very much again, and hope to talk to you very soon. And this is the end of another Swiss and John show. We will be back very soon. Bye bye.